Oh, there you go.
Like even the trucking companies have already started putting like fuel surcharges in to ensure that their guy, like you can't get a pretty good trucking quote that's even gonna last you 72 hours, because whatever you book, through like a third party company, it's just gonna suddenly jump up, and it's gonna be a totally different price by the time that like your trucker is
Mm.
actually there to pick up your product. It's insane.
Oh man, yeah.
And this doesn't even start with like Canadian shipping, like to cross the border. And when you want to do that, because they really punish you if you, I think they punish you if you leave or if you enter and the truck is not like fully loaded, or you don't have like then of course you have to fill out like the USMCA like customs paperwork for what you're carrying over. And then when you leave, I think the Canadians also try and like script you on the way out as well. So it's
Yeah.
not like if you're a domestic manufacturer, it's not a good time. Even if you work in logistics, period, it's not a good time. So we'll see what happens. I know
It's
that a
like the
lot
auto
of
industry.
well, I mean, just trucking in general, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an
But like for
absolute
example, like auto parts, like Trump had that thing where like they have to be completed, quote unquote, in the States, even if it's just like putting a sticker on on whatever. And so it's like you have to pay to like ship an extra step back to the States between Windsor and Michigan. So, but yeah, trucking in general is like um I noticed that even like when you're driving on the road for long stretches, like the truckers are kind of antsy nowadays, like more than usual. But
well,
anyways, what were you
diesel is
saying?
expensive through the
And diesel,
roof right
yeah,
now. So I mean, that
yeah.
probably doesn't help. But like, I'm totally uneasy around truckers for completely different reasons. And so it's just kind of wild because it's just like, I used to think of like trucking as like, oh, that's a pretty relatively like safe industry. And you don't think anything of it because like, oh, there's truck stops and things are fine. Like the quintessential Americana road trip thing just doesn't really exist in
Yeah.
the way, like it's the whole, the world you grew up in doesn't really exist anymore. And you
Oh
just kind of
God.
get depressed because it's like, oh man, like it's stopping at like one of those like 24-hour rest stops along a major US highway. It's like, yeah, I can probably crash here at like 11:30 at night and just sleep in my car that's locked. But like also, I mean, I'm like my gun is gonna be on me. It's just like it's strange because like there are parts of the country where it's like, yeah, like I'm in a like stop off a major highway in the middle of nowhere like Kentucky or Arkansas. It's like I'm probably gonna be fine. But at the same time, it's just like you step inside like a major gas station or rest stop area, and it just turns into like every international airport ever, and you're like, what the hell is going on here?
I
It's
had
just
a little
it's
rant
an absolute nightmare.
I had a rant about that growing up next to Niagara Falls, because people were discussing the I think they call it the primary school globalism aesthetic, and I'm like, well, if you're a millennial in Canada, you like, that was every textbook, that was every, um, like growing up, and you're going down Clifton Hill, and I don't know, I guess I was just used to it, hence why I'm, wholesome chungus third worldist. But anyways, this is
What did
that was
you? Okay,
great.
so did you? Oh no, but I mean, I'm not familiar with this actually at all. So I mean, did you grow up like with a pretty diverse like school years, like when you were a kid, or?
I mean, somewhat, not really, because I think like it was always like a tourist thing. But
Okay.
I mean, I grew up. There were like black kids and Arab kids. Like I had a friend who was. I had this one friend. I remember. I think I told this story. Madge. He like borrowed my book, that Francis Collins book about God and and evolution. He never gave it back to me, but I think the rumor was, and this was back in the day, he may or may not have actually gone over to Syria during the Civil War.
Oh
And I'm
my.
like, I wish I would have talked to him again. Because like I could have debated it with him, because we would debate all the time. He was a smart guy, but no, I mean, we had some diversity, but I think it was more so just like the vibes of it was the primary school globalism, as opposed to the reality of growing up as a millennial in Ontario in Canada. And so I think it was a time where it was like you grew up next to a tourist trap, and You you experienced it, but it wasn't like it was that weird time in the 90s and early 2000s where you could say that there was a, at least aesthetically, there was some like vibe or positivity to it. But as time goes on, like the Trudeau years basically has psychically gored a lot of especially younger people or semi younger people. And so um that like is totally out the window now. Oh, by the way, speaking of Canada, which is like every time someone brings up democracy, I'm just going to point out this fact. Although I personally believe that, democracy is kind of not what it's purported to be. But apparently, Mark Carney has his majority government now because of the way single riding went in Toronto and because of all those floor crossings. And so, not like, I mean, to be honest, if they were to have called a general election, like a snap election, he probably would have got a majority just because of how weak the conservatives are and all the boomer libs and all that. But no, I just think that to me, I say this with no happiness, but there is a sort of tragicomic, there's a sort of like comedy there of like, well, this is the bold face of what, the the Laurentian managerial class really is. And in some ways it's probably better this way as a demonstration to just have this majority by hook or by crook than having a general election where listen, I have no illusions. He probably would have got his majority legitimately. But no, I think it's better this way. It's there's a humor in it. There's a, so anyways, primary school globalism.
First is tragedy, then is farce.
Yeah.
Every Canadian election, it seems.
Yeah, true.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of elections going on. We had, of course, what happened in Canada. Viktor Orban is going to be gone on January 6th.
The dictator is gone. Wow.
There's something humorous about like the largest Trump ally in like Central Europe disappearing on January 6th. I don't know. I'm not one to practice augury, but that just doesn't sound like a good omen to me. The guy who sounds like Gru from Despicable Me is gone on J6. Worrisome.
What's the guy's name? Magyar, the new one?
Magyar, yeah.
Magyar. Like, it's just a lot of, like, obviously they've done the whole, like, it's hard to say because there is, like, a lot of legitimate antipathy towards Russia, but I just don't see how this new guy is going to square the circle. I mean, obviously the prediction people are making on the right is that, well, this is going to open up the floodgates, and the EU will bribe him in some way with some kind of aid package. There was people I actually know from Hungary that were talking about this. Let me see. I have it saved in my bookmarks. I don't make any money on Twitter. I'm just paying for the bookmarks, so maybe I'm a fool. But anyways, it's a mutual friend of ours that was writing about.
You don't get you don't get any Twitter payout.
I do. I mean, I haven't had one in a while.
Does it pay for itself? That's how I justified it.
Yeah,
like, does it pay for itself?
Probably does.
And that's what my payouts are.
Yeah. But I mean, there was a lot of kookery in Brussels. I mean, obviously, this is the last domino if they actually did want to do anything towards Russia. But at the same time, I think Orban, he was there for a long time. And, obviously the slopification of like, what are some of my European mutuals calling it, like the Erasmus, right? Or whatever, like the sort of like the TPUSA.
I was going to say that I've always called it the TPUSAification of European conservatism, which I don't think has won an election anywhere except maybe partially America. The Brexit referendum.
Yeah, like but I think
then that was its own separate campaign. Like I mean, a lot of what UKIP became afterwards certainly became. Farage became like the Trumpian TPUSA-esque figure. There's a Turning Point UK, which is led by Candace Owens's not beard husband, It's just it's a strange place to be in. But like I've said it for years, like trying to mirror the American right in Europe is a disaster of a policy.
Right.
And I think that it like yeah, it signals that like you're on Team USA or whatever, but that's also like usually terrible for you if you're
It's almost like
supporting
he
Team
got
USA on the
polyeved.
right.
It's almost like Orban got polyeved only from a position of power rather than a position of weakness, which is a very interesting.
Well, there were a lot of other
Yeah.
issues domestically that contributed to his
Yeah.
election loss. Like, I mean, like it's not just like the American influence. I mean, there's a lot of issues
No.
regarding corruption that were definitely front and center on that. But also, it's just like 16 years in power. It's very hard for you to hold on that
Yeah.
long
Exactly.
in a system that does not encourage you to be in power for very long to begin with.
Yeah. And so another thing too. There's obviously like a lot of like ideology plays it differently. Like obviously there's a natural antipathy towards Russia, and so if you could effectively paint Orban as a Russia shill or being paid off by the Kremlin, that's like one thing. But also there was a lot of like economic things. I mean, Europe is general economically is very like there's a lot of uncertain times, and then yes, Orban did bring in the whole like American conservative Inc. slash other influences that are very like antithetical to like people in the right in Europe. But the only thing is like we'll see with the new administration. Like apparently they are going ham, like they're gonna persecute everybody, including Orban himself. So he might get you never know, he might get Bolsonaro. But I mean
The real question
Orban,
is you know I hate sounding so American centric at this moment, but it's just like
yeah.
there are a lot of American expats that are currently in Hungary right now, and it just begs the question: where do you think Rod Dreyer's going after this?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Where's Rod Dreher going on January 6th?
Yeah. The thing is
Questions you can
though,
ask in 2026 and in 2021. There's something very funny about that.
but the thing is like you were saying, yeah, he was there for a while and like I mean, I think Orban personally like he was more of a sane voice when it came to the foreign policy of the EU, but at the same time like he did have a lot of stuff that wasn't antithetical to like what people on the right in Europe feel. And he was there for a long time. There was corruption scandals, but the fact that he did concede, like really, the whole narrative that he was a dictator, like they're doing the whole, like in the one end, they're like selling a form of like Disneyland nationalism to like the right wing people that always interpolates into hating Russia. But then on the other side, you have I've seen these like suspiciously viral posts of like this gay couple kissing and like we have our freedom now, and so they're really doing the whole like full spectrum on the in the tweets by like Hillary Clinton and Obama, like the evil dictator's gone and so on and so forth. But then the people that I know from Hungary, they're like, no, Orban didn't go, like he was no dictator, he was kind of like kind of like inept in a lot of ways, and he really didn't know what time it was. And if you've been there for 16 years, that's always going to happen. Like that's how Trudeau here in Canada got into power, because Harper was there for such a long time, and it was it was a natural progression. Nobody predicted how much damage Trudeau the younger would have done, but I mean, I obviously give this new guy a chance. How do you pronounce his name?
Magyar.
Magyar, yeah. Obviously, give him a chance. Like if he does stick to the interests of Hungarians, then that's fine. I'm very skeptical. There was a lot of crucial things that Orban did in terms of just being like a stopgap to a lot of the like Brussels policy mandates when it comes to, the economy, foreign policy, the migrant crisis. And so, yeah, it's but then again, it was kind of time. I think Orban was he was not long. So, and he did, like I say, he did concede. So I don't, the narrative that he was like some weird dictator, it's just again, this is very much like Soviet bloc language to just, that's another thing my friend was saying for Hungary is like these people are using very like Soviet bloc Cold War propaganda narratives about it. Like, the neoliberal West liberated us from these people. And it's like, but anyways, that's how it is. I mean, I pray for the people of Hungary. I've known a lot of Hungarians. There's a lot of Hungarians here in Canada, and I wasn't like I wasn't a big fan of Orban. Like he had his flaws, but I mean, it is what do you think? What do you think of this election, Prude?
I just think that only time is going to tell. Like we're really not going to know what's going to happen until the new prime minister takes office. I think that this is a substantial shift in both Hungarian but also sort of greater European politics. I think that a lot of people are going to read this as a sign about how cozy you can be with the Trump administration, and also at the same time, what does that really entail for people who are wanting to strengthen the European Union as a political project. So, I mean, I think that we're going to find out real quick in 27 in the same way we're going to find out what happens here in the United States in January of 27 after the midterms. And that I think a lot of these things are just entirely dependent on where things are with Ukraine, as well as where things are in Hormuz with Iran, because it's just like at that point, the two biggest European concerns, which is going to be access to oil and its position in the Middle East, and then your neighbors to the east, both the middle as well as in Eurasia. It's like those are real problems that they're going to have to focus on, and I think that probably the new government will try and move closer towards, they'll move closer towards any sort of strengthened European position and try and make Europe its own project.
But then again, I think the problem is if you have I don't think this will happen, but what the nightmare scenario would be, like the absolute nightmare scenario would be, not to say, again, I don't think this is going to happen, but some people were speculating if Trump actually is serious about pulling out of NATO, then that would open the door to attack Turkey. And then of course, if it was the impetus of it would be to hand off the Ukrainian war to the Europeans. And of course they would obviously be willing to support Ukraine. But then at the same time, if this whole rhetoric about a certain nation going after Turkey is serious and not just blowing off steam, and then Trump is serious about leaving NATO, which I mean, NATO is kind of like a truncated nonsense institution to begin with, but a Cold War institution. But then at the same time, there's a lot of consequences to it. But then again, I think that's kind of impossible. I don't know how Trump would even begin to just up and leave NATO, but that would be incredible.
I don't see Trump leaving NATO.
No.
I don't see. I think it's just more of the usual boisterous, bold statements that you gotta say because you're gonna get somebody's attention that way, and that's just how it's always been with him.
Timeline Earth was talking about this, about people that took him seriously, but not everything he said seriously. They did a good explanation to us. That was what you were gonna say.
Well, I just think that it's the usual Trump negotiating tactic. I mean, we've seen this show before, and we kind of know how it's going.
But it is very strange. This rhetoric against Turkey, though, is very strange. I mean, I'm not I'm not a fan of Erdogan, but the rhetoric against Turkey, I just don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if it's a weird joke or, but anyways.
So how was your Easter?
Oh, it was good. It was, it was all right. But I mean, my grandmother passed away, and we're going through the funeral and everything, and but oh, you mean the week before? It was actually pretty good. I went to my aunt's house, and it was all right. We usually used to do Easter, but then my aunt wanted to do it this year. So but how was your thing? That was it's a whole week affair, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a whole week affair. I mean, we haven't done, how long have we been talking? We haven't even done the show introduction. Oh my gosh.
We should do that.
Hello everyone. Christ is risen. I hope that everyone is doing well. This is episode 156. You now officially, what are we at now? I think you now almost have one episode for every Yeah, 156. You literally have one episode for every week for the last 3 years.
There you go.
Well, so we have now done this show 1 week for the last 3 years. Although I think we started like 4 years ago, 3, 4. I have no idea how long we've been doing this show. It's been
I
going on
think
for
4 years almost. Yeah,
almost 4 years. We've been doing this for a long time.
because the Ukraine war is almost 4 years.
That is true. We
Yeah.
started what, right before or right after the war?
Right after.
Right after the war. Yeah, we started what, in like June of 22.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's been 4 years of
Oh my
doing this
God.
show. And it's been 4 years of a terrible conflict in Europe. Good God, that's really tragic. But yeah, no, Holy Week was lovely. I mean, I couldn't go to the morning services, but the evening ones are what matter. The first 3 days are bridegroom. Well, really, it starts Palm Sunday night, leading into Monday morning. So bridegroom matins, and then Thursday night, which is Friday morning, technically speaking, because matins is the first service of the day. And then you have the Passion Gospels are read, and then on Friday night is the Lamentation service, lamenting over the death of Christ. And you have a very literal tomb in the center of the church with an icon of him, entombed. And then, of course, Saturday morning is usually when people get baptized, and then a liturgy, and then, all right, we'll see you all later that night, and then a big old party after all the services at 11:30. I didn't get home until like 5 a.m. It was lovely. It was a great time. I was thoroughly exhausted that Sunday. I didn't like get out of bed until like 2:00 in the afternoon. And then I took Monday off, and it was great. And now it's, by the way, to all of my American listeners, today is tax day. Go,
Yeah.
if you have not done them, go do it, or file for an extension now. I say this out of brotherly love and concern, because I don't care who the IRS sends. I'm not paying taxes. But no, seriously, you should really go take care of that. I hope that you're not in a bad position, because I certainly am this year. It's not a good time, But yeah, I had to return to my wage cage today, which was terrible, because then I was just thinking about Bud Dwyer every like 5 minutes, and I was just like, my office is, so for those of you we've covered this movie on the show before, but I have, if you remember Joe versus the volcano at the beginning of the film, where he has that like god awful light and desk and cubicle, there's no windows, and there's like the lightning, bolts walkway entrance that everyone goes through in a factory. So it's funny for me because like I work in manufacturing, and I'm in a windowless office with bright white fluorescent hospital lights, with 2 computer monitors in front of me at all times, most of the time with an Excel spreadsheet, and then the other with like our own system, similar to like a Monday board or whatever. And it is, it's awful. I don't recommend it. If you can work manually, or if you work in a job that pays you super well to where you're doing fine, or according to like what the New York Times was talking about today, if your woman is working 2 shifts or 2 jobs so she can afford for you to stay home and play video games, then like, hey, more power to you. Not that I really endorse that, but like, I saw it. And so I guess it's, if you're neat maxing, I really don't blame you in this day and age. And also as a reminder to chat, we are currently dealing with an outage with Entropy. So this week, I would behoove you to send super chats via YouTube, or just to send you can become a YouTube channel member, but more preferably subscribestar.com/theprudentialist to just give your a monthly recurring donation, which allows me to keep doing what I do here, because you guys make sure that I basically pay no out-of-pocket expenses with my medication, which I greatly appreciate as someone who has to take pills to live. I greatly appreciate that you pay for my poison. So thank you very much for that. Today we're kind of just taking it easy and chill. I thought it was particularly interesting that you and I, Gio, have kind of come to a very similar conclusion, to where we always say on the show that we're on Twitter so you don't have to be. And if you recall, there was a point in time where everyone has been arguing with like Nikita Beer over payouts, and you watch that like Dom Lucra fella like kind of crash out over the use of the phrase breaking.
Selling his platform to like promote tweets of other people? Like, what was
Yeah,
that
like,
about?
well, also the just the use of the phrase breaking in all capital
That guy's like
letters with
peak
alarm
slot
emojis.
merchant. Yeah, that guy's like Ian Chungus, like just peak slot merchant. Like just pure slop all the time.
Yeah, it's a rough time. Yeah, if Entropy doesn't get their act together, you should switch to Ko-Fi, says Sean Weiland. If it allows me to. I mean, I also have a Buy Me a Coffee, which you guys can use. I'll put that link down in the
Gestures
description.
of the For You page.
Yeah. Oh man, that is the For You page. Politicking has become such a insane thing because we have
Not gonna lie, I've lost
YouTube
some
shorts.
mutuals in recent days.
We have YouTube shorts. We have Instagram reels. And of course,
Yeah.
Instagram reels go to like Facebook and whatever. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
What's funny?
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead. No, you're gonna.
No. It's just a wild time. Hold on. I'm gonna go put this in live chat so people have a way to send super chats another way. I hate Twitter so much. You have no idea. Yeah, it's pretty disastrous.
Bad, man. When you go to other platforms like Instagram or like TikTok, I mean, I don't know TikTok, but like if you go to like other platforms, when they used to say like Twitter's not real life. Okay, that wasn't true when they used to say it, but now it's true because the people that thrive, they ruined it. And when you go to like other platforms, people are, I think, a bit more intellectually curious, to say the least. Whereas on Twitter, there's just a lot of gossip circles and group chat narratives. And
I think in a large part because like that's what you use.
They've shorted certain ideas. Well, the world adopted them, and now. It's like, but anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just like on a sociological level, it's like certainly the case wherein take your meds, schizo. So true. So true.
Very true.
We can talk. Well, I don't take any anti-schizophrenic medication. I take anti-rejection medication. Yeah, it's certainly the case.
Which is
it's pretty rough.
Medication for the I was gonna make some joke. I don't know. It's like anti-rejection drugs are like SSRIs for the organs. I don't know. Is that?
No,
that doesn't work.
It's like SSRIs for the immune system, so it doesn't attack the organ.
Yeah, that's a better one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough time.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. No. So, but I mean, like, I think that one of the things is where people will go out of their way and they'll be like, well, no one wants to have a conversation anymore. And it's just like, well, no one is doing conversations anymore. And
it's branding. It's branding. That's
in a large part because like Twitter's a branding network. It's a networking location. Like if you think LinkedIn schizo posting is wild, LinkedIn schizo posting, which is a real thing, by the way, it's like, 2 weeks ago, I buried my wife. And this is what I've learned about like B2B sales, like that kind of like weird hooks about like oddly specific personal tragedies. That like it's just Twitter for people who got an MBA. That's all that it's for. Like, Sean Weiland has talked about this extensively. Yeah, it's a fun time. I don't
need to like read your elaborate cope thread or your like logic about something that's really to like that's trying to justify something that's against your own interest. I could just go to like a content thief slot merchant meme poster where they're given a group chat narrative and they post about it a million times a day. That's like the pure distilled essence general of like the thought that's going on. But anyways, not to big post, of course, but like why would it, it's sort of like why you just go to the source, just go to the meme page. That's like the source of the real distilled essence of the idea that you're trying to get across. Why would I, I think that's, but anyways, yeah, sorry.
I
had a moment.
Yeah. Well, I just think that there's a fundamental truth to it where it's just like, we should have open, no one does open discourse and dialogue anymore. This is no longer the platform to do that. No. This is the place for you to dunk on your enemies, to network, agree, and amplify. Actually, this is what it's always been.
Knitting circle.
This is what it's always been. And the smaller accounts that are still doing book threads or covering interesting sociology papers, that's where you need to go because that's where shit gets interesting.
Or Substack.
Actually, Also, like, okay, there's
Oh, I'm
spurgs on
sorry.
Twitter.
Substack is filled with slop now too. That's
No, it's not. No. Substack is just where the spurgery is turned up to like 1 million.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's no, like, everyone who's a Substack spurg knows who they are, and they self-identify with it because they know that they can write an essay in like 2 hours to respond to some like comment in someone's thread. Or it's the last place where the YouTube reply function still exists.
There
Like,
was
congratulations,
yeah.
it's 2009, and we are right back in the new atheist days on Substack.com. And we're going to do reply, so and so on, da 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 da. And it doesn't matter if it's about Christianity. It doesn't matter if it's about like neo-paganism. It does not matter what it's about, the economy, COVID, Iran, Israel, Zionist, whatever. It's going to be there. And if you want good drama, you want good takes, you want your distractions, you want your slop that's not in visual form, but instead something literate that's going to get you off intellectually, boy, do you know where to go. We've got female porn literature at home, and it's called Substack.com. Please subscribe now.
Pornography for theory cells.
It is pornography for theory cells, and it's a great masturbatory activity. It's like it's a fleshlight for the mind.
You could still find a lot of gem rolls in Substack. It's true.
No, I'm being slightly.
No, but you know what? Someone said,
hyperbolic.
I'm not going to reveal who this was, but I was in a group chat and I was like going to war in this group chat over recent events, and someone's like, why are you so offended? You never post about this stuff. You never post about being a Catholic or theology. I go, well, I know not everybody listens to my podcast. He's like, fair enough. Yeah, I wonder why I don't post I wonder why
because I can just
say
speak into the ether.
Yeah, I wonder why I say I don't ever post on Twitter anymore. I wonder why. I thought that was very funny, like it's true. Like it's, if you're trying to as I've often said, don't judge anyone's output based on just the sort of ephemera.
Oh my god.
Of what they're putting out there on Twitter, but judge by what they actually have enumerated and thought out. And it's very funny how a lot of people seem to think that if you're not posting about it on Twitter, that's not your like real camp or opinion, or your sort of like constellation of the worldview or camp that you find yourself in. Whereas like it's a very weird like irony like it's a very weird thing where they don't think like that there is another universe outside of there, and so if you're not posting about it, that must mean that you don't actually like believe in something, or you've caught them off guard, when it's like, no, you could go to the hours and hours of stuff that I recorded where I talk about other things. But because it's like you're not making a pithy tweet about something, it's a very catty, very like, I don't know how to describe it. It's a very strange mindset. But anyways, I've done enough vague posting. I wanted to read you this thing that my friend from Hungary said.
What's the problem, vague boy? Afraid you might stand for something? Like Dimes and I were talking about this yesterday. It's just like, oh man, I want the adventures of the guy who just started paying attention, but I want him to be like a 55-year-old dad. And he's just like, guys, I'm beginning to think something's really not right here. Or like, because this is the Facebookification of like a lot of like normie like American political Twitter, where it's just like it's 55-year-old dads. They're like, oh man, like things weren't this bad when I was a kid, and like now it's my kids are in high school. Like this is pretty bad, and it's just like, no, I think things are pretty wrong here. Like, how dare they? This is such what hypocrites. And it's just like, and these are the cat turd followers of the world.
That's a great post, Sean Weiland. If you don't love me at my Substack, you don't deserve me at my Twitter. That's
if you don't love me on my podcast, you don't deserve me on my fifth burner Twitter account.
I make an effort to read what my mutuals put out there. That's not just tweet form. Like
I've read more articles this month than I probably have spent time on Twitter.
I mean, the show, we always break down our friends' stuff, It's like, it's just It's
See, on
disheartening,
this show, we encourage you to read. On my other show, we encourage the exact opposite.
And that's the thing. As soon as you go against their narrative over anything, it's like they throw you out like you're a piece of trash. And it's like, I never like, what was that quote? Was it in the Bible where Christ said, away from me, I never knew you. Like, I always thought that was so pungent, that phrase.
Well, it's the most, I think it's the most terrifying phrase in the New Testament.
It is.
Because it's just like, you can do everything right.
Right.
Or at least you think you do everything right. And then Christ tells you, depart from me. I do not know you.
Yeah.
And it's not like Christ doesn't know who you are because he's God, he's omnipotent. But at the same time, it's just like, really, it's that you never knew him.
Right.
Despite, pursuing him.
But that's what I mean. A lot of people, they treat, like, if they're highly invested in a particular narrative or a particular group, they have this thing where if you start to have even a legitimate criticism, it's this like, from the position of the dispensator of the just and the good and the true, they have this thing where it's like, depart from me, I never knew you. You could be friends with someone for 10 years and it's like all of a sudden, it's like that. It's a very strange thing, but it's like, I don't know, again, like, it's like, why are you shocked? Like, you kind of anyways, I don't know what I'm saying. So this is I don't know anything I'm saying. I'm just like, well, I'm trying to start, man. I don't know anything about anything. This is my friend from Hungary. He says that instead the record turnout, it was close to 80%. Something nobody on our side of the spectrum was prepared for. A Taisa supermajority with the power to rewrite the Constitution. Let that sink in. One party barely 2 years old with no governing record, an untested leader, and funding that has never been fully transparent, now that has the authority to reshape the foundation of the Hungarian nation. But, however, the outcome is largely Fights' own doing. They ran a lazy, negative campaign that hid behind the war in Ukraine to avoid answering for 16 years of domestic failure, crumbling healthcare, collapsing infrastructure, visible corruption, and the arrogance that comes with unchallenged power. You can only tell voters to be afraid of the alternative for so long before they start to believe the alternative can't possibly be worse. But Tisza didn't just benefit from Fights' failures. They had Brussels behind them every step of the way. Ursula von der Leyen says Hungary has chosen Europe, was ready before the ink was dry. And behind all the signaling, there was a concrete incentive. The promise of unlocking EU funds gave Tisza a tangible offer that Fights simply couldn't match. And that really, I mean, you don't know what to say, because on the one hand, they say that they're not going to shut off these imports from Russia. But then on the other hand, if the EU has some kind of financial incentive, it's all up in the air right now. We're not going to know till next year. So we hope for the best, obviously. But anyways, I just wanted to get that out there because I think that was probably a very sensible take on the whole situation with Viktor Orban. Did you see that photo of Orban, though, with his glorious... never mind. I was going to make a fat joke. I kind of identified with him in that photo. But
did you see yourself represented in media for the first time?
It was the golden.
Or did you do the Facebook? I'm in this photo and I don't like it.
And I don't like it. Yeah. Mm. Anyway,
these are important questions. Am I in this photo and I don't like it? I don't know. I think, like I said earlier, only time is really gonna tell here, and I think that it'll be fun to find out. So yeah, but no, I think that where we go from here is going to be wild, because like last year at the start of the administration, I gave a talk at a conference sort of about like the Anglo-American tradition of just like being the most eschatologically focused people on the planet. And it's just like, no man knows the hour, but like at the same time, like you kind of have to think about it and be vigilant for it, as is tradition. And so it's just like, well, how bad could things be? And it's just like, well, it could happen, starting in 2029, or it could be like 50 years from now. Like, you don't know. The question is like, what are you going to do with the time that you have? And regardless of what happens either in Hungary or in Canada or in the United States, you should always be proactive with the use of your time. And that's, I think, just like straightforward about where we go from here. But nevertheless, like I do think that I'm not as well versed in Hungarian politics. It's always been a weird nexus of like American support, and then there's a lot of American money that goes in, but then there's also like a lot of registered foreign agents of Americans that come out of it. And so
Yeah.
it's a particularly like strange place. Like I think the one time I've ever really done anything, and for the record, I should clarify before I answer this. I don't have any association with Hungary at all whatsoever. I
No,
don't have any.
I
I
have
haven't taken.
friends there. I don't have any
I
like
have friends. I have
association.
friends. I have friends or like Twitter mutuals. I think from Hungary, but like I don't think I
Yeah.
have. I have no political ties. I've never taken any check. I'm not a registered foreign agent under the under FARA or anything like that. But like
Yeah, me neither.
someone wrote a paper interviewing me asking about like orthodoxy in America. That is the only thing that I have done under my name.
You know where I saw a lot of paintings too?
Hungary or
No.
Poland.
I think I won from one guy from Sweden and one guy from Poland bought something. But no, North Carolina. I have a lot of fans in North Carolina, apparently. I'm like, why every second
I like that
one,
state.
North
It's a pretty
Carolina.
state.
You know
It's
why?
a pretty state that has like, unfortunately, it has Charlotte.
Listen, those bastards, the Carolina Hurricanes, they robbed the Maple Leafs in 2002. I'll never forget. No, I'm kidding. It was their fault because like half of the Maple Leafs was injured. I can't blame the Carolina Hurricanes for doing that. That was, half the fucking team was injured. They had this brutal series with the Islanders. But listen, look at trouble. The world isn't ending yet. Look at the state of the Maple Leafs. That's the world ending for me, okay? Not that I had high
I like the idea that like the apocalypse comes when the Toronto Maple Leafs are like wins a Stanley Cup. It's like that's the seventh seal that has to be broken is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
it's
over. It's over. They really suck. I'm not like a tank person. I think that the tank idea is terrible.
Southern people coming to look at the weird Canadian. Oh, look, we still got human zoos over there, Bubba. Like it's just called Twitter.com.
Is North Carolina with Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. Yeah.
My aunt used to go to North Carolina.
Yes. I'm not retarded. No, Myrtle Beach is in South Carolina.
Oh yeah. No, but my aunt used to go to North and South Carolina a lot.
I'm thinking of Wilmington Beach. Sorry.
Yeah. Because my uncle, he was affiliated with this karate thing, and he would go there. So I know it's a very nice state. I have a lot of fans there. Gio's coping. They would have lost even if they had their full roster. That's not true. Okay, they had Cujo and Nat. They could. Okay, I understand. If they would have had another winger with Matt Sundin, they probably could have beat Carolina. They definitely would not have beaten Detroit in 2002. Nobody could have beaten Detroit in 2002. But they would have at least kind of made the finals. So yes, it is cope on my part. I actually asked ChatGPT about this once. I said, what could the Maple Leafs have done in 2002 to have beaten Carolina? And they said if they could have got a guy like Bill Guerin or Michael Pekka that was a free agent, that would have played well with Sundin. And Sundin could never get anybody.
I feel like I asked this question before, Gio, but like, have you ever ranted about the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yes, I have a video I did a few weeks ago.
No. I know you did that. I actually listened to that. You remind me of an old friend who is a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, and my
aunt's a diehard Buffalo Bills.
He's spoken at great length about the history of the Buffalo Bills, and he's been like he's been so excited over like the last 5 years because like they've broken their playoff curse. But no, my what I was going to ask you, though, Gio, is like, have you ever called in to like a radio sports broadcaster and just like shot the shit about the Toronto Maple Leafs for like 5 minutes?
I haven't. I should though. There was that. Was it the White Sox? That was the famous video.
Yeah, like there's that very popular viral video of like that viral. He's two sports commentators in Chicago, and he's a White Sox fan, and he rants for like a solid 20, like I want to say like 20 minutes, and the hosts of the show just let him fucking have it. And I'm not a White Sox fan, but I know an angry, heartbroken, disappointed parent of a fan when I hear one, and it's a great video. It's a great rant. I'm glad that the hosts just let this guy have it.
So your friends like the mom in Buffalo 66.
You should. I think you should do that one of these days. Like you should just call in and just be like, "My name's Gio Penichetti. I'm from so and so, and this is what I got to fucking say on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I have been a diehard fan for all my life,
and it's over."
And I mean, like, you have the trivia, you know the knowledge, like, just you could do it, and it's gonna be like random Canadian like goes viral for Toronto Maple Leafs rant, and then like this is what gets you the like podcast and book deal. And
there's this one
bust out of that icicle stand.
Oh yeah, like there's this one the Maple Leafs YouTuber Steve Dangle, although he's like a libtard, but like he got famous because there was a situation where the Maple Leafs, I forget what team it was, but this was like in 2018 or some 2019, where the other team, like both of their goalies were out. And so they got this like Zamboni driver who was the goalie. And the Maple Leafs lost to a Zamboni driver. They got goalied the whole game. He didn't even have the team's pads. He had to use the fucking Maple Leafs pads. Like it was, and so it's this Steve Dangle guy. He like went super viral because he had this rant where he's like yelling and screaming about it. And like, I mean, he had this other stupid rant recently when about when about the Olympic thing, but it was like that was what sealed his popularity. He'd been like doing Maple Leafs videos for years at that point, but that rant about this Zamboni driver like shot him to the moon, and now he's like has a job with the Maple Leafs organization and all that stuff as a podcaster. So anyways, yeah, you're right. You can just put, that's like what I said in my Skilos interview. If you post hard enough,
maybe we're in the wrong line of work.
We are, man. We are. It's true. Like I'm not, this is why, like, if you look at the past content mindeds, I'm trying to like get away from this stuff, like I'm trying to like be more niche, be more, like interview people that's like not always about like politics all the time. Like, but
I'm going to be more niche. I'm going to be more esoteric. I'm going to talk about internet lore that requires 500 hours of Gio podcasts and tweets for you to even understand.
I can just imagine my stepson.
I'm on a whole other fucking level.
Yeah, he's like, see, you have to be a real esoteric top tugger to understand what Papa Gio's saying. I can just imagine Gabe.
I hate the fact that I understand every word of what you just said.
We had a great promo time. We had a great Slop Kings episode.
I really so our friend on Twitter. I loved, what was it? I'm doing my usual thing where I tried to look up. Yeah, it was Lonely Driver Zero. He says it was so nice to see that they let Gio get an extra hour with his wife's son this week. I just want to read my. I got to do this in the like Alan voice from Smiling Friends. I just want to read my books.
Oh man, yeah, that was great. So yeah, Slop Kings. We talked about the Dinergoth article, and I critiqued Robert Mariani's article. It was pretty good. Me, Gabe, and David. But yeah, man, it's true. It's true. I have my monthly Burger King visit with my wife's son Gabe. But
speaking of Diner Goth, I'm subjecting my wife, and by subjecting I mean she really fucking hates the main character of this show. She is watching Twin Peaks for the first time, I'm covering Twin Peaks The Return with our good friend John D. I think we're covering another episode this Thursday. But like she's just like, I fucking hate Dale Cooper. She's like, this is the most annoying autistic man I have ever seen, and everyone here is so fucking weird. And it's just like, well, yeah, isn't that like the charm? Like I've never met someone who is just like, so like, what the hell is going on? And I'm not liking it. It's just like, who doesn't want a bit of the Double R Diner, and then like a trashy blonde with like a secret history and like a trucker husband that you want to like blow his brains out. So this woman got the ick, in other words. Yeah, Randall Shirker. Yeah, let's go with that word that no one fucking uses except like TikTok users, which I guess is a Zoomer thing. I don't know. But it is fun because like she found some video where she's like the double life of Laura Palmer, and she's like, well, now I'm gonna go watch the show, and it's just like this is why I think social media needs to be restricted heavily, not in the like libtard sense of like age verification, but like maybe we should just keep people from having ideas.
Yeah. We should keep who from having ideas?
I think just women in general.
I don't know about that. Like, if you want to look at the perspective of the ancients, women have been the conduits of a lot of...
Yeah, they've been divinizers. And how well has that worked out?
No, but like every ancient civilization has, women as at the core of like a direct input into the collective unconscious, so I don't think I think that's why women are akin, they have this capacity for connection to the natural world and to madness and to the ebbs and flows of the news sphere, if you will. And I think you can't just immediately discredit it. I think within their madness there is brilliance, so I've been reading a lot of I was reading the Simone de Beauvoir essay recently.
I was about to say, you're either reading Dworkin or
I was reading Simone Weil.
Simone de Beauvoir. Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of esoteric reads, and actually I have I was reading an essay about this. I was very, very upset to learn that
we put that. What is it? Is it an essay or a manifesto?
No, it's an essay.
No. The one you recommended it to us.
The Scum Manifesto.
No. I think it was Igna Musico. Like you recommended Igna Musio's book. Can I just say it? Am I gonna get in trouble? You recommended the book "Cunt" to Dimes.
Oh yeah, that's a great
that is
book.
Now unfortunately on our "Do You Even Read" list.
Oh, thank God! Oh, you gotta invite me on for that
we have scheduled out the next 6 months of content.
You have to invite me on for that one. We got to do a crossover. Yeah.
Can we take out all the inane transgressive literature written, please? Like, oh my gosh, that's an info hazard. Yeah, no, I certainly agree. I think you need to. If they're going to be conduits for the divine, then you need to no more books about milking the Minotaur.
Exactly.
I'm compromise.
You have to
you can be exposed to ideas, but no more cliterature.
No, of course. There's a whole genre of esoterica for women on TikTok and Instagram shorts. You got these witches.
It's literally what does this crystal do, but for the For You page. And I was saying this yesterday too, where it's just every single bookstore, every mainstream bookstore in America is exactly like that, where it's Book Talk made it popular, but now you can actually read it. And then it's all the superhero comic book compendiums because of TV shows that are popular, so The Walking Dead or Invincible. And then it's where I live, at least, you have the Bible Belt. And so there's 2 or 3 rows of Bibles and devotional literature and Christian fiction written by, horny, but, I'm trad horny kind of 45-year-old moms. And then but when you walk in the front, it's knickknacks and then all the new age, sage and crystal shit. And it's just it fits it's the dynamic and demographic for everybody.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's that woman who was in Italy, that she was a communist, but she was also an esotericist, and she had this kind of infatuate, Mussolini had an infatuation with her. Raffanelli, I think her name was Leah Raffanelli. She was a witch, but a communist, but a love interest of Mussolini. Her writings are fascinating, by the way. Raffanelli, I think, was her name.
I'll have to look it up.
Every e-girl ever, can't compare. Okay, all these e-girls. Listen, you're never gonna be.
Helen of Troy was the first e-girl. End of discussion.
You're never gonna be Anais Nin. You're never gonna be Leah Raffanelli. I'm sorry, okay? Some of you can come close. Some of my valued mutuals can come close, okay? But you're never going to be them, okay? You're never going to be Lee Krasner. I was reading these beautiful essays on Lee Krasner's later work. You're never going to be Lee Krasner, like trying to contain Jackson Pollock, but being brilliant, being a brilliant artist in your own right. I'm sorry, okay? Some of you can come close, but you're never going to be that. You're never going to be Anais Nin unless you put in the effort. By effort, I was going to make a joke about. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it. Okay, not gonna say it. But
on the upside, apparently,
you look into what Anais Nin did. Okay, I'm not gonna say it, but
no,
you have to put in the effort.
Speaking of slop,
I want to talk about something that was
worst person you know has made an announcement that just makes you really depressed.
By that logic, the first e-girl was Eve.
No, well, if you adhere to Jewish tradition, the first e-girl is Lilith, which is why like every trans woman's named after them. But like, yeah, I guess. Well, no, I wouldn't go with Eve being like the first e-girl. No, Jezebel's the first e-girl.
Jezebel's probably the first e-girl. Yeah.
Anais Nin is short for Anais 9 Inch Nails.
We did like
the first e-girl was Lilith. I'm gonna vomit.
Well, you know, me and Art of Darkness, we did like a 5-hour episode of Anais Nin. It was great content. It was great. That was like a few years ago. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, speaking of like terrible e-celebs that have come with announcements, Jacksepticeye has announced that he's working with Sony to make a Bloodborne R-rated animated film. Guys, I think we need to take the Slaw Cleaver to Jacksepticeye real quick.
I think we need to see how good the Kane Pixels film is before we can make another YouTube video game.
Watch it. I hate to break it to you. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna review it. And this may be the first one where I'm not gonna. I'm definitely Ruth may be the contender for the first e-girl created by her future mother-in-law. I don't know. Yeah, please do. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be disgusting. But yeah, it's one of those like it's A24. I think it's basically a Blumhouse movie. I don't know. Vampires Iron Lung wasn't bad for a passion project. I have not seen it. I did play the game, so yeah, there you go. Tubi has the Dante's Inferno action anime. That was a time. Okay,
nice.
So this is why the industry has not been good since like 2008. And we're gonna say 2007 was the peak of Western civilization because it was nice. It was before Barack Obama, and it was before all things got terrible. And so like. Does everyone just or I'm gonna do stupid gamer nostalgia takes for a hot second. Does anyone else remember the tie-in anime for Dead Space? That was good.
There was a tie-in anime for Dead Space.
His fish tank takes yet? No, he hasn't. We'll get there. I promise. It's in the wings. It's in the wings. But we're gonna bitch about video games first. That's how it's gonna be. We also had Halo Legends that I think came out like 2009, 2010. Yeah, the Dead Space anime, that was really good. And they should have done more of that shit. And instead they like shat the bed with Dead Space 3 being like a cooperative almost on a rail shooter. It was terrible. And then like Gio quietly just decides to like mute his mic. He's like, I have nothing to add to this conversation. He's like, no, I don't. I'm good.
I think I watched a Halo. I think I watched a Halo movie where like there was a planet where they couldn't use any technology. Was that one?
Was it animated?
I think so. Like they had to shave their heads because of the lice. Was that a Halo film?
No, that was not a Halo film. There have been two sort of live action Halo things. One is the Forward Unto Dawn, which is this like Halo 4 prequel, which is meant to explain where Captain Lasky comes from. And then I think there's like one that introduces James Locke, that god awful Halo 5 protagonist. The Metro
my best
trilogy
friend in real life, he
undefeated.
hates
So
that.
I played that when it came out in 2010 with Metro 2033 on my Xbox 360. That game was so good. I don't care that it was super fucking linear. Metro 2033 and then Metro Last Light.
Oh, is that the one where the nukes, like the Cold War, like the nukes went off and they went?
The nukes went off in like 2013.
And
now it's 20 years later, and you're under What do you mean quadrilogy? They just announced a 4th game? No fucking way. Where do you go from that
apparently
series?
Vincent Gallo's coming up with a new film.
Is he?
It's going to be a cop drama. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. Because I wish he would have released his one film that he'll never release called Promises Written in Water. He's never going to release that though. Can you imagine having that much money where you just make a whole Hollywood like production film and you just don't release it?
See, I'm just seeing rumors. Oh no, apparently they are working on a Metro 2039. I'll be darned. Okay. Yeah, I stand corrected. Okay. Look at that. That'll be fun.
I wonder though, like, what if the Soviet Union, like, what if Gorbachev could have done reforms that wasn't like, I was hearing like Pete and Thomas talk about this, where Thomas was going through about like the theory that like Stalin was the one like the orchestrator of World War II. But like, I wonder if he was mentioning this point about Gorbachev was like, sort of like the anti-Yeltsin, but like, I wonder if the Soviet Union would have lasted, what the geopolitical situation would look like now. I mean, apart from like the Metro series where it's like the nukes go off and it's over. But I always wonder that.
You know, it raises an interesting question of
because in the Metro series, does like the Soviet Union last till 2013? Is that what happens, or no?
No. Like it's just that the war happens. Like the nukes just go off. It's an undescribed in the video games. It's an undescribed event. And so yeah. No, I'm very curious what they'll do. Like, so the first 2 games, you are literally inside the metro subway tunnels of Moscow, and that's like where the remnants of humanity survive.
You're like fighting mutants and shit like that.
Say that again.
You're fighting mutants and stuff like that.
Yeah, you are. Also, man, you are incredibly quiet. I need to turn up your volume. Get closer to your mic.
Can the audience hear me?
Yeah, the audience can hear you. I'm just turning you up. There we go. Problem solved. Anyways, yeah, Anna must survive, make it canon. That's true. So anyways, like the first 2 games, you're fighting mutants and you're trying to like understand, in the first game at least, you're trying to understand this connection between this like weird ESP, like not human but kind of successor human mutant species that live on the surface. You discover like an underground vault called D6, which is this like rumored Soviet, like dead hand place to go. And then Gio is loud. Okay, well he's quiet on my end. But we can fix that real quick. That's no big deal. Automatically adjust mic volume. Problem solved. So anyways, like, and then the second game, it's like you're fighting humans over the conflict and trying to like save the last of the surviving weird ape thingies that you killed in the first game. And then the third one is like this big open world sandbox kind of game where you're like on a rail, literally traveling from various location to location. I like the third game. I need to replay it. I've only done like one long playthrough of it. But yeah, like I really do like the Soviet aesthetic a lot. I find that stuff really fascinating to me, the whole sort of Soviet era architecture and brutalism. I not because I find it physically attractive or alluring from an architectural sense. It's just it seems really fitting because like there seems to be this like cold brutalist utilitarian purpose to all things. That like this is meant to be, this apartment can now be a great dug-in position for a sniper's nest or something. Like it was like all designed for the breakout
like
of the
Stalingrad
next war.
forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks interesting. Like I remember seeing the advertisements for the Metro games, but like that'd probably be a game I'd play.
You would actually, I think you would really like the first. Actually, I think you would like all of them.
Oh yeah, like. That's like in Eastern Europe, they have this animation and art trend called Samizbor. Have you ever heard about this?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
It's like it's this weird like internet mythology, but then like there's no unified lore, but it's more of imagine like it's sort of like House of Leaves, but like Kowloon Walled City, where you have like infinite Soviet bloc apartments. And there's these entities, and there's like these Samizbor agents that have to fight them, and a lot of like artists
like
and animators.
Soviet SCP.
Exactly.
Okay.
But like it never ends, and like you have to lock yourself in these apartments, and there's a lot of like animators and artists that do like stuff around this concept. It's more of like an SCP concept than a unified thing. Like I think maybe someone made an indie game around Samizbor. Yeah, it's exactly. Thank you. Not I'm grim. Basically Russian backrooms, but like infinite apartment commie blocks. And
I'm
then
sold.
and when you go outside, it's like this weird, like nebulous firmament realm where you can't see above the foggy horizon. There's like no outside. There's no point of going outside. You like exist in these brutalist apartments forever. Um, it's a very interesting concept. It's like, yeah, it's basically is like the back Russian backrooms. Imagine a goon cave, but infinite, but there's creatures in that goon cave. And also, yeah.
There's creatures in that goon cave, son.
Well,
Like to chew on the wires, so you had to
like,
use your imagination.
but I guess in
I know
Metro
that's
you have
difficult
to
for you
fight
kids
off.
to do these days.
How does Metro end? Not to spoil it, but
The first game or like the series?
is there like a continuous character throughout all this?
Yeah, you play the same character throughout all 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically someone made a Gmod map where it's basically a fucking void outside. It's really grim looking. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a goon cave, but infinite, and you got little gremlins in there. It's totally bad. It reminds me of an old Saturday morning breakfast cartoon comic where like the internet goes out while a guy is gooning, and then he's just like he goes to like the dark recesses of his like imagination, and he's just like it's like I think it's like Princess Peach like attacks him, and he's like, "Where have you been?" And she's like, "Well, where are the others?" And then like the internet snaps back on, and then he just Googles like remarkably specific pornography. That's what I'm reminded. Yeah, and also there are multiple endings in each Metro game, so we're going everywhere with this episode today. Yeah, we know that they're making the A24 Backrooms movie. Gio and I will probably review it. We reviewed Skinamarink the last time that we had a quasi analog horror production make it to the big screen. So I'm gonna go watch it, and it's gonna be weird to know that like 2 tickets to the Backrooms, please.
There's also Shelby Oak, which I heard mixed reviews of. Well, that was like a horror YouTuber making a full feature film.
Well, I don't know, because like the very first, I mean, I can't. I'm surprised that they haven't tried to do this with other horror projects. I mean, they kind of have. Like, I think like the 2 Smile movies is definitely, I think, inspired off of some like YouTube content or vice versa. Skinamarink is depressing. Skinamarink is depressing because I think it focuses so much on like the helplessness of a small child.
Yeah.
I want Kane Parsons to succeed, but I know I'm going to be disappointed.
You think?
Something just tells me I'm going to be disappointed. I want it to work so bad, but I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it was
that Cinema Stuckman guy. Yeah, that's probably true.
I mean, hopefully it works because it's very hard to like make a coherent narrative out of the Backrooms apart from.
But I mean, he's the only guy who's managed to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, hell, this all started as a short film that got 75 million views on YouTube over the course of the last 4 years, and then he built this like long-standing world. It's particularly something. Yeah, no, I don't like. I mean, I think the reason why Skinamarink probably works in a way that a lot of other films like it do is that like your victim and your POV is distinctly from a child's. Yeah, and I think that there's nothing more unsettling than the brutal, real fact that children are innocent and helpless and can be subject to the worst things imaginable. I've seen that film now 3 times, and I think that it doesn't really. The first 2, I'm like, I'm looking at this from like my internet consumption perspective, and then the third, I was like, oh, this is from the eyes of a child, and then this is like really fucked up.
Yeah,
that
really is like from the perspective of a child. That really is sort of like how like your parents are gone. You're in this.
It's like being left home alone for the first time.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah.
I want it to be good, but something just tells me it's not going to be.
Yeah,
it's not going to be.
Oh my god!
Welcome to front rooms. It's vestibules and lobbies forever. It's a totally distinct concept. Imagine a waiting room that never ends.
They have that in the Backrooms lore.
Yeah, it's called Purgatory.
Yeah, they have
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm being.
What else has been happening? There's been. I mean, it's very
We're
strange.
doing
There's
a
been a lot of
blockade
stuff.
around the Strait of Hormuz now.
Well, what's that about? Like, it's sort of like, is that like a reverse
And also
psychology
got
thing?
the Indonesian government to sign like a defense pact with the USG. So I guess like there's the Straits of Malacca question being answered.
Hmm.
I mean, this is stuff that, again, the negotiations haven't really gone anywhere yet, and I'm sure that there's more
No, of
stuff to
course
do.
not.
Pakistan has been the main like political player in this instance, which has been particularly interesting. But like it's more of the same of a loud, boisterous Donald Trump that is trying to get what he wants. And then I think he's also in hot water right now because of like the weird AI Jesus thing he was pulling off the other day.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've not really been on Twitter for the last week and a half. It's been really nice.
Well, what is the timeline like? When is the 2 weeks up for the negotiations?
Well, the negotiations came to an end. I think that they're meeting again in I think the Pakistanis are trying to like lead something again. I know that JD Vance went with a few other people, but like
Hmm.
that's where we're at right now.
But there's still bombs going off. Obviously, still rockets going off.
Yes and no. Like, yes, there are still missiles going off. I think a big concern, of course, was like,
Well, Lebanon's obviously a big concern. Oh,
yeah, I just think that now only time is going to be able to tell and what's going on. So I just think that for right now, at least, I think we're gonna have to wait and see, as with all things, which is frustrating.
well, I think another thing too is the thing is they're trying to spark a sort of weird civil war in Lebanon. I think that is a sort of story that's going under the radar because of what's happening with Iran, because Iran has a lot of economic and global concerns involved, but the like absolutely hideous stuff that's happening in Lebanon right now. I mean, I
Yeah,
think almost like 3,000 people have died, mostly civilians. Uh, and I think like that, it's a very strange thing around Lebanon. You almost get the feeling that the Iran thing was a conscious play so that the goal is like, this thing that's going off there. But anyways, Europe missing their fertilizer window could be really bad. Well, that's true, Sean. That's true.
that is very true.
Time will tell.
Legal Mindset and Kang Min Lee are apparently they're in Seoul, South Korea right now to go for Johnny Somali sentencing. See,
Oh
there's
boy.
some like nice things going on in the world right
Yeah, there
now.
you go. That's
We can all be
positive.
hopeful. We can all be like we can root for justice in some other part of the world part of the world tragic. That's very funny to me, but
Yeah.
good for them, good for them.
Um yeah, there so but I think like there is, if you look at, I mean, Canada's I would bracket that because there was always sort of like antipathy towards America. But if you look at what's happening in Hungary, and then there's probably going to be other significant elections, I wonder if there is like a sort of divestment from the past 10 years of, Trumpism in Washington, or like the sort of what's around it. And I wonder if like that does have serious ramifications. Like, Orban was Trump and JD Vance's guy in Europe. And now that he's gone, it's like that is a massive thing. I mean, obviously, like I just read now, like on the show, obviously, like, in a lot of ways, Orban did it to himself. Like, let's not cope around this. But at the same time, I can't help but notice that there could potentially be a trend here. And if it is that just by mere endorsement, there's like a poison pill for any leader that has an antipathy towards, maybe not like the sort of like Washington machine as a whole, but Trump inflamed a lot of those antipathies. And so I wonder if that will be a trend in the future. And like you mentioned, the Pakistan angle is very interesting considering their history with like during GWAT, how they loved playing both sides off against each other. Pakistan has actually a very well developed and sophisticated intelligence agency, and they are, because of the region that they're in, they're sort of experts at playing both sides against each other. And so I think maybe their goal is to sweep in as like, if we can broker this, we will be viewed favorably as the savior of this whole situation. But we'll see what happens. We still, Ukraine. Well, there's the Pascha ceasefire, but that happens every year, and so usually right after Easter, in Ukraine, Russia starts ramping up again, and so we'll see what happens. There's a lot of things up in the air. But what do you think, Prude? What do you think's gonna? Obviously, the easy answer is to talk about fucking bullshit Twitter slop and narratives. But I think in terms of the real news, it seems very hard to get what's actually happening on the ground.
Well, it's also going to require you to pay way more attention than to be on Twitter. I mean, why I wrote in the description, like the tabloidification of everything. Like it's not that I hate the medium. I really don't. It's not even that I hate anything. I do have hate for things, but I think that it's put in a righteous direction. But even then, I don't know. But like for me, at least, like not too long ago, the various ways in which I consumed information came in a form and a mechanism that allowed for interesting books, concepts, ideas, and breakdowns of ongoing events in world history that are happening right before my very eyes to be explicated in a way that, like you could probably tell where they're getting some of their points from, or like they're relying too much on, like, say, like mainstream sources or whatever. But like a pretty good, like, there, almost like documentary level breakdowns could be drafted up by people on the internet in like either by like our guys or our side of things. And at the same time, like there was also like a lot of data that could be extrapolated that it didn't have, I think this was also before Grok and everything else like that, where functionally, like you had a really great way to parse through analysis and information and see which take was valid and good. Like in a large swath of like our side of things, you also had, of course, the various ban waves that I think really served as these like, evolutionary bottlenecks that like you had to become witty and analytical and really know your shit if you were going to stay around. So that way you could get away with being a little edge boy on the internet sometimes. Nowadays, everything does feel like a tabloid. Like, of course, there is a lot of conspiracy stuff. Not to say that there wasn't in the past. There was a lot more, I think, explicit focus on esotericism and Gnosticism, and I mean like the capital G Gnosticism, where like there was explicit conversations about secret knowledge, cults, and the demiurge. And now it's just like we've almost been reduced to like a Joe Rogan takes a hit from the bong to then talk about like UFOs all of a sudden. And not to say that discourse wasn't around 5 or 6 years ago or even a year ago, but it certainly seems far more in your face, because I think that there has been a direct amplification of the most boisterous and loud voices that will support any random thing, whether it's your claim that Donald Trump is one of the various antichrists that will come throughout history, or that of course, like the whole Candace Owens saga and everything like that. I mean, I couldn't think of a more perfect couple than like mainstream conservative media and Candace Owens. Like it is a you get what you fucking deserve moment.
You get Laura Loomer, and you get Candace Owens. Yeah,
Laura Loomer, everybody.
And then you get Candace Owens.
You wanna criticize someone, you're gonna get loomed. It's the first person I talk to when I get off the phone with Netanyahu. I call Laura Loomer.
She was going off.
A great patriot, not for this country.
It's terrifying.
I have her blog. I'm just going to say whatever the fuck.
It's fucking terrifying that this person has the ear of Donald Trump. Like, this is like, what was funny? I was going through old photos that I had from my old computer for like drawing references. And I remember there was this thing where she was like arguing with that Michael Avenatti guy, and she was in this like ridiculous red dress. And I'm like, this lolcow has the ear of the president of the United States during a war with Iran. My God. This is like, imagine if Ethan Ralph had the ear. That would actually, Ethan Ralph is 10 times, for all you could say about Ethan Ralph, there's a lot to say. He's actually, 10 times better on geopolitics than Laura Loomer. Like, let's imagine bad example. That's a terrible example. But it's just like we live in an insane world. We live in a very insane world. But anyways, you were saying, Fruit.
So, but everything just feels like a tabloid.
Yeah, no, because
Like,
it is.
have you? So, like, when you go to the grocery store and you see like the National Enquirer, or not even just the National Enquirer, like none of this, like, it doesn't have to be like Hillary Clinton has alien baby on display in Mexico, like that. It doesn't have to be that. But it's like I think about like all of the like slot posting of like, oh, like cozy animals or like the royal family, or like I think like Time Magazine or National Geographic, they always do around Easter time, they do a history of like Christianity for you to like go buy, and it's like the life and the teachings of Jesus, and it's just like, and you can buy that, like, and you can go read it, and it's just like this bizarre, I'm like, who is this? I don't know who reads National Geographic anymore. Like I have a large collection, courtesy of my grandparents, of like National Geographics from 1975 to about 2000. 25 years kept in plastic baggies so they're not like ruined or oxidized or whatever. And it's just like there's some interesting stuff in there, and like, accounts with like random ass tribes or breakdowns about like the ecology of certain places, and Sir Edmund Hillary and things like that. And now it's just like, what am I getting at anymore? Like, there's obviously been the decrease in quality, but then even on my timeline, it's the same thing where it's just like you can easily social network map where certain points are coming from. Like, it's not very hard to ask Claude if you really wanted to. You could easily just be like, all right, like, here's a key phrase. Can you give me a network map of various Twitter users that are currently, amplifying that phraseology? And like, then you can start doing like, well, who follows who and things. This is stuff that like the Data and Society people did in like 2017. And it's just like, okay, I think it's harder, of course, to map groups if you so desire to, but it's a particularly frustrating endeavor because it's just like, okay, I have to find like I'm relying on mutuals of mine, like our friend Vulpus Persona, not the Vulpus Persona on YouTube. I'm referring to our Vulpus Persona on Twitter. I learned not too long ago they're two separate people. For I am retarded. Anyways,
him and Pope have been going off. It's been glorious.
Yeah. But I'm relying on accounts with like how many followers, like 2,000 or less, so I can.
Well, Vulpes is in Europe, so it affects him directly. I mean,
exactly. So like I'm more interested in that kind of stuff than I am anything else, and it's just like I think that that stuff to me is like really where I'm more interested in getting my attention. Like, also, like, I think Leo Caceres has been doing really good work right now on helping me understand what's going on in Europe. And so like, it's been a fun time to understand these things. And
there's something that JD Vance said recently about
blackpilling.
No, well, he said like if Iran wants to like get rid of their nukes or whatever, or pursuing a nuke, that they'll like quote unquote economically thrive. And you do get this sense of like Yeltsin's Russia, where the plan was that you go in there and you essentially break up the Soviet Union into three blocks that are like incredibly vassalized towards first to Washington and then to like finance capital affiliates of Washington. That's the only thing I could really think of when he says we're going to like quote unquote make Iran economically thrive. Like, if Iran is thriving at this level with like 40 years of being sanctioned into oblivion and having a direct resource economy, and imagine if they weren't sanctioned, if they actually do manage to pull off some kind of tariff scheme or toll scheme on the Strait of Hormuz, then it's like, why would they need Washington? I think like that's obviously a lot of nations are going to themselves and they're really taking what Kissinger said to heart, that to be an enemy is dangerous, to be an ally is deadly. And I think that if there is a significant blow in the Iranian situation, a lot of nations are looking at themselves, they're like, well, we don't want to get broken up into like little vassal states. And so in terms of just sheer national interest of a lot of people, like in China and Iran and elsewhere, it's like that is, that's, I think, foremost. I mean, certainly it's a foremost of the mind of people like Xi put it that way. Now, not to say that all of this is going to pan out. I mean, a lot of it is, I don't exactly want to get into like, whatever, like Jackson Hinkle, Scott Ritter slop that there is. But I think there is an analysis that is prudent to say a lot of these nations are thinking about the future. They're thinking about like what could this pan out to be, especially if there is a hit to the global economy, as we've said. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're totally fine.
Yeah. I just think that statement by J.D. Vance has some has layers to it, given the history of what has been going on in that region in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. So, and who knows, maybe one day in China, maybe one day in Asia proper. That's a terrifying thought.
Horrifying, yeah.
Horrifying, yeah.
To say the least. You're just like, I wonder what's gonna come out of that, and you're just sort of left like, here we are. I don't know what happens now. That's a little strange. Here we go. No, but I think that overall, there was an interesting conversation I've been having in the background about where things are. And I think a lot of it has to do with that we're witnessing a younger generation emerge on sort of these online spaces. Like I sort of remember like a year or two, probably like 2 years ago now, like the various fun posts that I would see from like Zoomers, especially, would be like, they would call out their enemies, and they'd be like, "Hey, buddy, you see that like widow's peak that's slowly beginning to recede back?" Yeah. And it was basically just calling out the fact that the people that they disagreed with were specifically millennials, and that they were getting older, and that millennials are entering middle aged, and now all the attention is directed towards younger people. And so it's just like there's the conversation towards there's a whole different generation that no longer remembers the before times, has been raised explicitly on the internet, and is now coming into conflict with people who are trying to become the next generation of civil society, both by participating in civil society in the sense of politics, but also civil society in the sense of media, Hollywood, writing, books, etc., etc., etc. And so I think that you're beginning to see an intergenerational conflict between like older American millennials, which has dominated the media market and has overly saturated its takes, whether it's the BuzzFeedification of everything from a few years ago to now being sort of the mainstream for a lot of political commentary. Because who really led the charge on political commentary in the last election? It was older millennials and Gen X. And those guys that are on Twitter are now coming to fight, and come to engage in sort of the digital boxing ring. And because that's the only place where a lot of people get to handle out their problems. And since violence is a quest for identity, and the only place that you can do that is a hyper gamified environment, I think we're going to really watch sort of like for lack of a better term, like the Zoomer waffen or whatever, but not even just like American Zoomers, but like right-wing Zoomers from across the world that have been like heavily socialized in an Americanized right-wing internet, and what that means for them. And of course, they have their own European sense of self with them. And all of this is, I think, is really becoming to come to a head. And after this administration comes to a close, at least in the online scene, it's going to be really interesting to see, people jump on millennials. And I think that they're going to become sort of like the boomers for the next like 2 generations.
Well, because they're following a lot of behavior patterns of the boomers. Like, I hate to say it, but you know what, fuck it, I don't care anymore. A lot of people have the notion of investment in the past 10 years of things. And a lot of people
it's like what Zero H.P.
I mean?
Lovecraft was saying about like the Spirit of 16.
Exactly, but like exactly. I mean, I wonder, the thing is though, there's this like thing we have to win. We have to win. Like the narrative of like, we're shining a hill on the rock, and these are like savage third worlders, and we have to like do this thing, even though it's not for our interest, but that doesn't matter because it's like there's this mythos attached to it. And that's very hard, especially if you say started off as a poster when you were in your early 20s, and now you look at that you're the other side of 30 years old of your 30s, and you're looking at things, not a lot of like certain things maybe have panned out, but not a lot of things have panned out. And now you have this thing that has potentially civilization disrupting consequences. And you're looking at it and you've invested so much time in this brand. And it's like you talk about these principles of loyalty and any like sober second reflection about anything has to go out the window because it's like this notion of winning and all of the things about um, a society where you no longer have God, you no longer have family, you no longer have this, you no longer have that. You only have this very abstract notion of a historically unprecedented dominance in the world stage. And that must be maintained at all costs. Even if it means I have to sell all my principles, even if it means that I'm not the one getting to quote unquote bask in the fruits of winning. It's like, who cares? Because I get to glow in that moment. And I think that's a lot of the logic of this, if there is any logic at all. That's why you can't have any reasoned criticism of anything, because you have this investment in a narrative that's been concocted for the past 10 years. And I was caught up in it too, man. Like I just think that a lot of people, I think I've said this before elsewhere, and you were saying this too, Prude. A lot of people have this weird sort of trick of thought where everything has to be waged in the same terms as like the way that we did things in the 2010s and the culture war, and every gripping political issue geopolitically and domestically has to be framed in a certain way where I have to get my epic dunks and I have to be in this side, and we have to if you're not agreeing with me, you're a libtard or whatever. And it's like that same language of like 2010s culture war that really was the rise of Trumpism and MAGA. That same language has to be grafted onto everything. And if there's real world material consequences, then it's like I have to revert back to that thinking. And people in the administration revert back to that thinking, which is scary. Because when it comes time to talk about the very real consequences of what you're doing in the Middle East, it's like you're going back to like, I'm fighting my domestic opponents on the political left, and everyone is all of a sudden a closet libtard, and we're doing this to own the libs. And it's like, again, it's this miasma of thinking. And I notice a lot of people frame their thinking in the same way we frame thinking around, I don't know, take your pick, trans issues, or DI or whatever. It's again, it's the same language used, it's the same structure of thinking, it's the same mass formation of the narrative that gets concocted in group chats and various other places. And I noticed this trend, and I think in a lot of ways there has been an ossification of real genuine political thinking from the 2010s at the sort of dawn of the rise of Trumpism and everything else. And we're no longer in 2018 anymore. That's I just like to take like actual analysis of what's happening in the Middle East and say you're transing out and you're a libtard and this is third worldist resentment, and okay, but the other side's not third world resentment. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And I think the difference is the original neocons during GWAT, they didn't have that. There was no social media back then. So they were very good at controlling the narrative, but they can control it on the ground though. Whereas here we have this notion of like an air campaign can do everything for us and we cannot risk anything, but somehow it's all going to work out in the end. It's just, I don't know. It's we don't live in 2003 anymore. We don't live in 2013 anymore. We live in a different world, and that's all I could say. Sorry, I've been ranting for a while, but there you go.
No, I think you're fine. I do think that in a large degree, And I was saying this last night with Dimes when we were talking about like historiography, that I think there's been this great return to catastrophism as the model of history. Not to say that like great men can create these sort of cataclysmic events which do certainly shape things, and obviously conflict shapes them, because obviously we still live in the like, you know, the
Mhm.
shadow of the Second World War. So we talk so often about like the post-war consensus, to a point where that's become such a ubiquitous term that even people like Jonathan Peugeot use it. And of course, like we had been covering Jürgen Osterhamel's like Transformation of the World, the History of the 19th Century.
Oh
That's a pretty
yeah.
comprehensive text. There's some issues I have with it because it's very much like a book that a lot of like Eurocrat types were supportive of, and understanding like European 19th century history and the impact on the world. But like the stuff on non-European history was particularly interesting, because a lot of the stuff that was on like the Industrial Revolution or like the rise of like mass political movements was stuff that I heard before in college and other places. And so even online, I think so much a large degree of like these spaces, which on one hand do shape politics to its degree, and its impact can be either overstated or understated depending on who you talk to. But it does have an impact, and it is tangible because obviously there is a market for it, which has been implicated, because otherwise we wouldn't have seen like the podcasting and the Twitter stuff play a role in 16 as well as in 2024. At the same time, there are people that I think have gotten very comfortable in sort of their content production model, because you don't have to really worry about things, because like the chief issue of whatever you want to fight is still present. It hasn't really gone away despite you claiming to fight for it. And I think that it allows for a sense of complacency to really take shape and form in a way that you wouldn't really expect. And in that places, this is why, like, you know, you can have the Quartering do the same shtick for 10 plus years and go about it. It's the same thing with politics in a lot of ways, especially the
Yeah.
more closer to the mainstream you get, because you either become a merchant for compliance, or you become a cheerleader without a lot of original thought. And then the creativity and the aspects of wanting to engage in a form that is largely dead but still exists by the nature of the medium, I think really comes to a head. And this is why I really do think in the next like year or so, there's going to be a real interesting conflict play out over sort of what I would call like millennial hipsterdom on the right versus the rage of I think younger people who have no problem excoriating you on a forum somewhere and then just deciding to like make a Twitter account and like ruin your fucking day. And of course it won't, this is just like on the online media space, because like when I talk to younger people, anyone who is under the age of 25, there is, I mean, they work harder than a lot of people my age. They know how rigged the game is against them, and they have no problem saying whatever edgy, crooked shit comes to their mind, and they really don't care about optics anymore. And it's like I was telling Ben Boyce this a couple of months ago. It's like this is why like the Piers Morgan Nick interview accomplished nothing, because it's two different people under two different types of media regimes, under two different cults of personality that are talking past one another because they don't understand or they don't give a shit about the attacks that are being thrown at back and forth against them. And I think that that's going to be a little different, obviously, between like millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. But I think that a lot of that's going to come to fruition here, because like there is this sort of cult of like online spiritual messianic prophecy that like if we just do this, we will unlock, you know, we will achieve whatever we need to do to usher about peace, and like we will own the libtards forever, and we will reign for 1,000 years. And I obviously that isn't going to be the case. I don't have a lot of political flights of fancy, but also at the same time, I have to brutally remind myself I don't know what the administration is facing. I don't work in the federal government on the executive branch. I work for a company locally where I live, and that the only thing that I have a tangible impact on is like my county and my town and my community. And so it's just like, it's what I mentioned earlier. It's like, well, what are you going to do with this time? And so I think that right now there's going to be a cycle of people who get hired and will push for, lifting the ladder above them, as everyone does, and then at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people that want to drag them down to their level, and probably rightfully so, because they're like, hey man, like you were not this type of character, like, when you were our age, and you've
Yeah.
either been seen as like a traitor to the system, or you've been swallowed up by it. And I think that that's really going to play a significant role in our sort of politicking, online, at least for a while. And I think that this is why, at least for me, I think that the model to go to, of course, is like you either start writing and you start doing things that aren't always explicitly political, and you instead focus on like a certain niche issue. Like if you're a painter, you should be painting. If you're working on something else, like your professional career that you think can be helpful to like your own guys, then like yeah, you should. Capitalissimo is a very good example of this. And so I for me it's like, well, I think like maybe that feral historian character has a pretty good content production
Oh
model that
yeah.
would be fun to talk about media, but also relay it to like the ongoings on of the day politically and talk about concepts. But at the same time, like that's its own separate thing. And he just gave a really weird Turchin-esque class analysis about like whiteness in America, and I'm just like, it's not that, but
No,
it
but
is,
that's
but it isn't. And so I don't know. Like for me, at least, if I'm doing this 5 years from now, guys, I hope I got fucking hired somewhere, or I've make enough money doing this that I can make this my full time job. If not, I feel like I have made some very bad life choices,
ugh.
because like there's insane risk for sticking your face and your neck out for these politics, especially if you do go to rallies and you do participate politically and you say the things that you genuinely believe in. Then like yeah, there's going to be real consequences to that, and I do encourage you to act that way in your own capacity. I'm not saying that every guy is going to be a revolutionary. God knows I'm not. Like I'm married, and we're trying for kids. Like it's not going to be me. But at the same time, like I'm also not going to like be trying to tone police someone who has that time and energy to like move things in a direction that I think is good for myself and my people. And so I think that these tensions will come to a head, not just online, but also in political spaces. You're already seeing this now with the younger generation, younger millennials or zillennials, like Gen Z types, working in Republican politics. Because like even I know some staffers that are younger than me, and they're just like, oh yeah, like the word groyper gets used as a catch-all, but like no one is going to hold the like baby boomer post-war understanding of the regime of Germany during that time or anything else. Like they're just not going to have that position. It's going to be far more nuanced. But they're going to get all looped into this category, and they're just going to come after them like in just with ice picks. And I think that like these are the battles that are going to get played out as the share of American like white men becomes smaller in the grand scheme of like political demography, but they're going to, I think, play as always a large outstanding role in what's to come, both in media but also just in general politicking and engagement.
Well, you said something very interesting though, about the generation thing. There is We have to realize that if you've had like a political movement around for 10 years, and a lot of people are like at a different stage of their life, like I said about the whole thing about this abstract notion of like we have to win, we have to blah blah blah, right? uh if you look at younger people, they're going to have vastly different political chimera. There's like a political chimerism going on, and they have a different exposure to the way that they process information and the way that they process information and events. And like the whole like 2010s MAGA thing, that's kind of like old hat to them. And if you're not if you're not careful, then if you're going to repeat the same political forms that the boomers and whoever came before us, then there's obviously going to be serious consequences to that. And the world in the future might look very strange and alien when it comes to political discourse in general, or cultural discourse. And I think a lot of people, they're not really thinking about that. Like, what are you going to do in 3 years? What are you going to do in 10 years? When the politics of the Western world will become so strange and alien to what you specifically were geared to fight for, discursively. in the quote unquote marketplace of ideas. That I mean, a lot of people might be left behind, and I know that sucks, but I mean, truly great thinkers are never totally left behind. But I mean, I don't know. There's a lack of great thinking, put it that way. I mean, there's still some pockets here and there, but I definitely do notice that younger people, that they process things differently, and they perhaps are growing tired of the same narratives over and over and over again. So there you go.
Yeah, I do think that there's a large degree of that where I don't want to say it's complacency, but like there is certainly an extent where now it's like these are the conversations that are going to be had, which is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like, well, we've been here before, I think is the take that I think a lot of people are going to have, which is like, well, we've done this, we've been here, what have we done with this time?
Yeah.
And I think that
a lot of time was wasted, put it that way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think a lot of people are going to just sort of look at the situation. They're going to be like, oh, well, like this is now like well, we haven't. What did you do with your time? Is I think going to be the question that gets asked by a lot of people is what did you do with your time?
Yeah.
And I mean that's a question that we're all going to have to answer for one day at the end. But like it is certainly I think going to be like very upfront when people start like talking about political questions and like, well, what did you do with all that time? Like, did you secure the bag? No. Yes. Maybe so. And so like I think that that's what's going to be up front in the coming years.
Well, you never know. Some people are securing the bag.
I'm not one of them. Well, at least not online. I mean, I'm securing the bag because like I've started a business and I'm working on that, but also like this is just like one source of income. I do some editorial work on the side. I write, but like I still have a day job, man. Like I have a day job and employee back, like covered health insurance. Like this is not this is just not what makes me money. And
you could secure the bag. No, but you could secure the bag now, but it's not.
I mean, I'm not going to secure the bag by like getting hired at like some media institution. Like I just know that that's not going to happen. If it does, I'm going to be very surprised.
But then again, that's overrated. You never know in the future. Like, there will be new things.
Oh yeah,
there will be. Yeah. I don't think like, I don't think like younger people will be. They're probably not going to be listening to the same outlets. Put it that way. So, but you never know. You never know. We've seen old media forms die before, and some have come back. But
what's come back? What's died and returned?
Well, I mean, everyone
in terms of media, specifically.
Oh, in terms of media, but like in terms of like everyone's looking for some gemerald to like dig up again. Like people. But yeah, you're right. Actually, I've misspoke. It's very hard for old media to come back, or rather, the old form of like.
I think. Well, yeah. I don't know if it like things obviously will adapt. I mean, and certain personalities will adapt to the times. Like late night television is functionally dead, and I've talked about that at great length already in publications. But like, I've also. Like they've adapted, or like some of them have. Like Conan O'Brien has a podcast that's particularly popular, or it was. I don't know if he still does it, but like it's not so much like what medium comes back. It's but
the incredulous.
How do you adapt? How does the speaker adapt?
Yeah, it's like Hollywood celebrities of the podcast. I think people in the future
they
might view take sellers of old.
Who listens to them?
No, but that's what I mean. Like in the future, I think people would look at take sellers of old and they'll sort of stack up on like the draw table. Like, okay, which got you right? What did you have to sell your soul for? What did you shell? Like,
what's the worth of your soul?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think you have to like seriously think about that. But I mean, I think the problem is we're getting too meta now. Let's talk about something else.
God, we're incredibly we do that a lot. We do that a lot here. We're very meta.
I think
That's
we have to. I
particularly
think the
interesting.
problem is we kind of have to be, because then if like we're not, might ruffle some might ruffle some feathers. So what else?
I
What
think
else is there?
I mean, I'm fine with, I guess, rustling feathers. Like I don't have a problem with that. It's
No, I
certainly
know. But anyways, what else?
I just express myself in the way that I think is like the accurate state of affairs, and like if I'm wrong about it, then like that's fine. This is why I don't really do a lot of drama posting, or I engage in it, or I try really hard not to, I should say, because at least for me, it's more important that I am not cut off from accessing things, because I might be wrong one day, and I might I might want to learn from someone. Like I've been enjoying a great deal of like my European mutuals, because it's like I have a lot more to learn from them about European affairs and their perception of like the American strategic
Yeah,
relationship to the continent, versus, but like at the same time, it's just like you also like, I think it becomes really important for like a lot of or my European posters to understand like the average American has no idea like what America does inside of NATO. Like, yes, like the US military is sort of like the strategic tripwire, but also like a great deal of what we do in terms of our troops on the ground over there. A lot of it's also like logistics, and like our planes are a big important part to like the NATO operations inside the European continent. And it's just like it's the memory TV meme. It's like, it's like Alexis de Tocqueville, which I assume many Americans have
yeah,
already read. And it's like, no, actually they don't. They read like a
those
little bit
are
of him
pretty
in high
funny.
school if they're lucky, but no one in America reads. And this is where you get really upset and frustrated, because I think this is where a lot of people want to turn into that like fucking awful Jeff Daniels character from the Newsroom. I'm like, this place ain't great, but it's like from the right wing. But
Mm.
it's like it was great at one point in time, and it was awesome, and we should go back to that, or like forge it into the future, and we shall rebuild the ring, and we shall hammer ourselves away at the forge and rise again. I don't know. There is sort of this desire for the eternal return to like greatness, and I think that it's very capable and it's possible. But nevertheless, I think when we do these sort of meta commentary bits, I love the meta stuff, and my Substack audience and our audience here knows it, because it's like if you were a fish and you discovered that what you're swimming in is water. And then you're like, whoa, like I gotta learn everything about water right fucking now. And like, how does it work? How do I swim in it? Like, because now you're just questioning instinct, and you're questioning like why you're moving through the water and why your gills do the thing that they do. And when you do that, I think that for me at least, it's like, oh, well, like I have a better understanding of like the world I operate in, because I live in the most psyoped country on earth. And it's important to understand how that works so I can navigate it. I'm like, to me, it's like, oh, it's like being a cartography student, but like you're a net runner, which is a really, I think, sad cyberpunk way to describe my own small niche internet fascinations with things. But yeah, no, we can happily move on from that. I did get a couple of buy me a coffee things, so thank you, Serbian Cat. I greatly appreciate it. He says, it's been a while since I've been able to watch a stream or send a chat. I had to lock in for a few months for my new job. Well, congratulations on your new job, Serbian Cat. They say that nothing pays as good as unemployment feels, but I think for a lot of people who have a job, they would disagree with that, because being unemployed fucking sucks.
Mm.
He says, if I thought about streaming the new Ace Combat when it drops, yeah, I'm going to buy the new Ace Combat game. I really liked Ace Combat 7. I've recorded a lot of Ace Combat 7 footage, because I'm going to put out a video that's both sort of an Ace Combat review, but also my fascination with flight. As a kid, I've, everyone says like you're either like into really being a firefighter or a policeman, or like you like trains or cars or tanks. I've always been obsessed with aircraft as a kid. I have so many books. And I have a lot of like painting collections of like aircraft photography, not just
Oh
like
yeah.
nose art, but like paintings by like I have this book by one guy who used to paint like battle scenes for the covers of boxes that would be used for box art for model aircraft. And it's one of my favorite pieces it's one of my favorite books as a kid. Like it's a literal picture book basically, but like really nice glossy prints and things like that. It was like I think it's like 100 years of flight, 100 years, 100 paintings or something like that. And I love World War I aircraft. I love World War I and interwar aircraft because it's just where guys with a blueprint and like a slide rule could just invent fucking anything and see what sticks. It was a really wild time to be an aviator. And it was also exciting because the technology is so new and still is now. And so when I was a kid, we went to an aeronautics museum, and it was also next to a local airfield.
You were a plane kid?
I was a plane kid. I
was a train kid.
My dad is a train kid, and I only know that my dad is a train kid because we were going through my dad has like a shipping container, like a big old like Maersk shipping container on his land that serves as like his storage. So you're not paying for like, rent a, storage cube, rent a place, whatever. And so like my dad has a lot of model trains, which I think explains a lot about my father the older I get. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, of course you joined the army because you wanted to learn how to fix things. Like, doesn't, like that makes sense, but I think that's with anyone, like you get to understand your old man better because you realize that you really are a lot like your old man. And, no, so like when I was a kid, I was like, I want to say I was 9 or 10 years old. And we were visiting family somewhere in the Midwest. And, there was this little museum, little technical museum, and had an airport, and I flew in this like guy Cessna, he lets you control the stick for like a few minutes, just doing basic, just keep the plane level or whatnot. I fell in love with that, and I've never lost my fascination with flight. Even when I'm on a commercial airplane, like I know flying commercial sucks, and your economy class seat is fucking terrible, and it doesn't matter if you're flying like Southwest or American Airlines. Like something's bound to go wrong, but like I love getting the window seat because I love just looking out the window, and I love takeoff, I love landing, I love all that stuff. And I've always wanted to get my pilot's license, and I have a lot of hours into like IL-2 and other sim games like that. And so,
Constantine goes to the warport. He's got his pilot's license now.
Really? Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I've always thought about doing it because like my dream retirement, even though I know it doesn't pay shit, my dream, like I want to be like a 65-year-old guy who owns a Curtiss JN4 Jenny that I have jerry rigged to be a crop duster. And I know that by that time it'll be fucking drones, and I'll be flying whatever little ultralight kite thing I can find to evade like the global favela that's turned my country into Brazil. But like I would love to do that. I would just love to be this old guy who just like crop dusts on this like antique 100+ year old biplane. I love the barnstorming era of America, of just like all these World War I pilots and these male pilots who are just, they got nothing else to fucking do. So like, we're just going to just do acrobatics on planes. Like, fuck it. I'm going to go play like tennis on the top wing of a biplane. Did some of them become
runners though?
Sure. But like,
that's like that Steven Stills song, Treetop Flyer, where like he was a pilot in Vietnam, but then he like couldn't conform to society. So he decided to like run contraband.
Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, I imagine that aircraft had a lot to do with the Prohibition days.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s. Stuff like that fascinates me. I'm more interested in the like 1920s and 30s time of aviation. Although like Cold War era jets from like 1949 to like 1965 is just also again a really cool era of to be in.
Yeah. Oh. You should get your pilot's license.
I really want to. I probably should. And I think that should be I should really, I should really do it. That's what I'm thinking of. I should really do it.
I recently bought I was very upset to, I didn't realize it, but last year I don't know if anybody knows, but the publication Parabola magazine went under, or they stopped publishing because of how hard it is to do like 4 publications.
Palladium Mag?
Parabola
Oh,
magazine. They were
Parabola.
like the
Okay.
Parabola, yeah. They were like
Or
the peak,
parabolic or whatever.
yeah. They were like the peak New Age magazine. Like they had like a lot of different authors that talked about like theology and Zen Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff like that. And they were going for like 50 years, right? Like since the 60s onwards. And it's very unfortunate that they would come out with like 4 editions, right? Like the 4 seasons. And so I ended up buying the 1998 edition called Millennium. And they have a lot of very like interesting articles that like that sort of like new age thinking at the turn of the millennium was very interesting to me, and what they were saying about it. And so I'm trying to like go through all of them, and it's like that's the shit that I used to talk about a lot more. And I seriously am invested in like going back. Like even just last week, I did the whole Young and the UFO phenomenon thing, which I have to come out with a part 2 on, because I didn't get to his article where he talked about what was the painters he talked about. He talked about Yves Tanguay and these medieval woodcuts. And it's like, that's the shit that I used to write about a lot. But then, I guess like the past few years or so, like the political situations become like unavoidable. So, I just felt like that was my small contribution. I had, back in the day, like when I was in grad school, I always had this dream that like one day I would like publish or I'd have an article in Parabola magazine. I'm like, oh fuck, it really sucks. But I know it's hard, man. Like it's hard to have any sort of actual physical quality publication, because they would go all out with like the pictures and the articles, and they would get all these like leading experts and different stuff. And that's like very hard to do nowadays, even online. So yeah. But anyways, are you reading the super chats, Prude? No,
I guess I can. I just noticed that there was the buy me a coffee notification in my email.
Oh
so
yeah,
I just
that's
went,
what sparked
I just went with that.
Yeah.
But like I'll post that again in chat. I didn't pin it because entropy is down for some reason. It works for Gio, but it's down for me. So I'm gonna have to go message to Rachel and just go from there. But yeah, Gio, like, are you watching Fish Tank season?
No, I
season
didn't.
5?
I was gonna make a joke about like they're they're running the whole site from what was it a fucking the stupid CBC hit piece. What is it, like some like abandoned dance studio in Belarus, or like some factory warehouse in Belarus, that they sent some journalists to chase down the couple that runs Entropy. That was very hilarious. No, I have not been watching this season of Fish Tank. I watched the first few days, but apparently people are saying that it's not it wasn't like the other seasons, especially now that Sam Hyde's not involved with it. Like apparently the finale wasn't that great. Some of the characters are interesting, but I just didn't have the time to get into it as I did back in the day. So, I mean, if anyone wants to give their thoughts on it, I heard that the finale of it was very ill thought out. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the final challenges are ill thought out, but apparently this one like really was not. It was like some kind of slime thing or slime pit. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. Unfortunately, I probably will like binge some of the clips, but yeah, they had a Serbian fish tank. They had a Colombian fish tank that Ethan Ralph was on. They have like I think every nation in the world now will have their own version of fish tank. There will be a Chinese fish tank.
So this is like I mentioned when this all started. I was like, oh, so we've reinvented Big Brother, but for internet shut-ins.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, a Serbian slime pit. Oh my god, that doesn't sound very fun. That doesn't. Serbian slime pit. That's. Oh boy. Anyways.
Well, there you go. I guess Gio hasn't been
Make-A-Wish tank. It's funny they brought Ethan Ralph.
That would be really fucked up.
That would be really
like Make-A-Wish tank. We've brought together 7 terminally ill teenagers. Only one of them has access to right to try life-saving therapy. Find out who's the winner on Make-A-Wish tank.
It's funny. My friend
that would be so bad.
My friend Sunwound, he actually had this critical tweet of Sam Hyde, and he got like just descended on. It was actually a fair
Sam
point.
Hyde, the angry cousin you've heard of who has a criminal record and bad life advice.
Oh boy. I don't know. I think like there is yeah. I mean, not to be like too critical, but there always is a point where you do kind of have to pick your lane. I know it's hard. Like, I shouldn't be saying this, obviously, because I have like my beak wet in different things, but there is something to be said about if everything is like this meta irony, and then now you want to be like this, like you want to have this like aura of seriousness or a voice of a generation type of thing, then I think like there's obviously like a fair game there in terms of criticism, right? And there's a lot of people that I think are trying to do this, but I forget what exactly. Let me look up exactly what Sun Moon said, because they were like, "You're Egyptian, you're brown," and he's like, "Yes, I'm Egyptian. I live in Cairo." It was very funny.
I am who I am. What did you expect?
He's brilliant, man. Oh, here you go, Sam Hyde. It was this recent like stupid thing where Sam Hyde was debating some new atheist or something, and they were all like, it was one of the guy from like the original Fish Tank thesis and Fish Tank show, and they were like, I don't know, it was kind of stupid. It was sort of like an engagement bait type of thing. Sam Hyde, for all of his mockery of Indians, carries a strangely vulgar habit of speaking about God with the same blunt, unrefined reverence one might associate with the worship of a cow. He believes in Christ while screaming, if not chimping, in the face of a very calm man. And then, like, it was just like a brutal 5-day descent on Sunwound. And I thought that was fair criticism, because, like, the thing is, I don't know, I understand the whole bit of like confronting some, like I remember Sam Hyde did the Bernie Sanders video where he like went to a Bernie meetup, but then after a while it's, I don't know, something about that. It's just, I get the point. Like, I know it's the bit, right? But I don't know. Something about it's just kind of like, I guess like when people used to post those clips of like the Padre Pio, what's the guy's name? He went crazy recently. The actor, fucking He Will Not Divide Us.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, yeah. Where he's like, say Christ is Lord right now. It's like that level of discourse of like, say Christ is Lord right now. And it's just like, oh, fuck. I don't know. It's to make a theatrics over theology debates kind of like, I understand the criticism there.
Well, this is why I try really hard to avoid that stuff.
It's like, yeah, it's like the whole
I
thing
remember
with,
us getting,
like
I remember saying that on the air
thing,
one time and getting a lot of shit for it on Twitter. It's just like, well, how, we should be talking about these things. And it's like, well, one, most of us are not qualified. And then two, it's like, it usually gets reduced down to like theatrics like this. And it's frustrating because it's like, the places for it still exist, but I think that a lot of the product that's being put out is for, I think, an audience that's not necessarily there anymore.
Well, it's like the whole thing with like Trump posting that Christ image. It's like, yeah, it's, I understand. Like,
the one time I've seen him on Truth Social like really get
criticism,
get attacked for it.
But that's what I mean. Like, I understand the whole point of like, oh, well, he always does this. He always posts AI slop. He always says stupid things. But then you have this other reaction, which is like, you know, if you're offended by this, then it's like, you're this like, it's like stop being weird. Why are you offended by this? It's like, obviously people are going to be offended by it. You know, like, I think it's no shame to admit that this was a bad move. And he even deleted the thing. Evidently, if he was getting criticism, he deleted the slop image. So I don't know, like, even that discourse around it was fucking stupid. I just think, like, you know, just admit it was a bad move and that's it. Like, it's,
I think he has,
but not like, you know, other people. But that's, no, it is what it is. But anyways, you're gonna.
Well, we can. I guess we'll get into the super chats proper. Like, we've been over 2 hours into this.
Was there anything else that's been going on recently?
I mean, I'm sure that there has, and someone will be like, "Well, why didn't you talk about this thing?" And it's like, "Well, fuck, I didn't know." So yeah, no, I'm just gonna go with what I've gotten, what I have in front of me, and we're just gonna go from there. And I'm gonna just go take care of it, and we'll find out when we have to go check out what else we have to what we're gonna have to take care of. But I mean, overall, I think that where things are going at right now will um they'll have to change, obviously, and that's not gonna go away anytime soon, unfortunately. So what else can I really have to say on that other than like this is the future of where we're going. And I think there's a lot there that we've talked about that was good. I mean, it was meta. I didn't have a lot planned. I didn't have an article or anything ready to cover. I haven't been on Twitter in like a week and some change. So it's been nice to not really worry about all that. I've been
So you're really
busy.
hardcore about Posca, then you don't really like.
Well,
I were absent
I
for the
just
past
take
week.
well, usually on the weekends I uninstall the Bird app, but like
Yeah.
for Holy Week and whatnot, I'm busy, man, because like I'm either at work or I know that I'm going to like 2 or 3 services a day. I don't try to talk about the faith on here because I'm not a remotely qualified representative of orthodoxy or as a convert. I'm a terrible Christian and a terrible human being. I'm an awful sinner, but like I try to take it seriously. Like I'm in the
Oh, yeah.
choir at my parish. I serve in the altar when necessary, and I'm a student of iconography. Like I'm taking a course at St. Vladimir Seminary to be a lay catechist and hoping to, serve my parish in a more effective manner. Like I do. I just don't talk about it because at least in America, like Orthodoxy is so small. Like I'm 2 degrees separated from everyone else. And I know people who know me that way, and like it's fine, but like I just try not to draw attention to it because like I have my own self to take care of and my own I've got my own salvation to worry about.
Yeah.
And I leave it at that. But we'll get to the super chats promptly. Entropy is down, so I appreciate everyone who's either done buy me a coffee or via the YouTube super chats. I know that we didn't talk to you guys in chat as much this today, but like
now that the Iran war is over, I don't think it's over.
It ain't over. It ain't over.
It's kind of a weird thing where it's like, is it over? It's very Bogiardian in that way. I know it's like kind of
the war in Iran doesn't exist.
I know it's become like a knee jerk like kind of thing to invoke Bogiard, but it's kind of it's true. The war in Iran never took place. But if gas goes to $200 a barrel, then I guess it will. But oh God, I hope not.
I certainly hope not either, because that's really going to make my life a living hell at work.
Oh yeah, it's going to make everybody's life a living hell, Brood.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh man, we'll have something more structured next week. I was reading this great article actually about this. I was reading this great article about. I think the guy is like he's like a technology writer. He has a book out, but it was about that. He uses the concept of from Gregory Bateson called what's it called? Schizogenesis or
Is that a real thing? Schizogenesis?
It was like schemogenesis, where basically it was put it this way, it wasn't like exactly about it was a very sophisticated article about multipolarity versus
schismosgenesis. Gregory Bateson.
yeah.
The process of splitting or creation of divisions within social groups through progressive interactive differentiation. That sounds really interesting. I'm down to read about that.
Gregory
Growing
Bateson,
up in a time of division, Forbes magazine, schismogenesis. Schismogenesis and costly honest signaling. Is this that Evo studies forum that this looks interesting. I'm gonna go look at this later.
I posted about this. If you go to my Twitter,
you've triggered something very interesting.
I posted about this. So he let me look. I have it's right here. Someone did the meme of like the thing about Kitsch where it's like, I fucking hate you, I hope you die, and the guy's like, well, I like pretty pictures.
I hate you, I hope you die, this is so terrible. Wow, Thomas Kincaid.
I like Thomas Kincaid, it's very pretty. I fucking hate you and I hope you die. Oh my God. This is Teeter Mitu, and I posted about it because speaking of the primary school globalism thing, I posted because he had this phrase about there will be a nostalgia for the old unipolar order. But essentially what he's talking about in this piece is he does talk about like the multipolarity thing, but he's more specifically talking about the reality of how the global economy and how civilization itself works with, and how you could potentially see
nostalgia for a pre-COVID economy.
Well, like nostalgia specifically for like the unipolar order, and how like he calls it, what does he call it? The metaphor between like this sort of like Mick world that we live in versus like what he calls the fridge. The fridge will always win out. The fridge is like material facticity of how the global economy works, of how logistics works. And so you have like the Strait of Hormuz, you have other events like in Asia, the economic arrangements we have with China. And he talks about how you can see starting like a lot of the different cracks that are forming in the sort of like post-war liberal unipolar world, and how the sort of underlying metaphysical assumption of that in most people's minds, that's if that slowly starts to chip away because of material reality confronting the impossibilities of maintaining that project in the future. It's a very interesting piece, and I think it's a part of his book that he wrote. And his book is called, so if you go to my, it's called The Gated Age on Substack, like a gate. The Gated Age on Substack is the article, and he has a book called the Red Witch Trap or something like that. I think it's called The Red Witch Trap, or the Red, yeah, something like that. What's it? Yeah, he's got his book link on his Twitter profile. Where is it? Yes, The Red Queen Trap. The Red Queen Trap: Complexity, Collapse, and the Myth of the Future. That's his book, and hopefully I can interview him one day. But very, very interesting article. Maybe we'll cover it next week. Anyways,
is it bad that I think he's referencing Resident Evil?
He probably is.
I don't know. I feel like an asshole for thinking like that. Just tells me how evil I am. I'm like, oh, that's like a fucking red queen. Like, oh, I'm like, anyways.
We always answer the super chats. This is why some
yeah, we always answer them at the end. So we're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
Apparently,
do you think we should do like a lot of streamers where they like do the super?
Probably, so people don't get pissed. I don't know. I'm just. We've been doing it this way for 4 fucking years. Anyways, we'll start with the super chats at the beginning.
Medicare Masochist for 50 subs. Quartering eats cum.
Oh, for a second I thought you said 50 cents, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know that you could give that little on YouTube.
Or whatever they do on Kick. What's it called? Subs?
I think they have like the bananas and diet. No, I don't know what they do on Kick anymore. I'm not on those platforms. All right, so again,
Jeremy
the Digital Archipelago is brought to you.
Eats cum is a cock. Like you could just like that's like it's cute because it's like just blasting on the middle of the show. You know, Medicare Masochist 50 subs. The quartering is a cock. Like there you go. Listen. I haven't been paying too much attention to it. I think Arjun had a good breakdown. I am vastly enjoying the explosion of the quartering, because it's kind of like, you know, like if the old Kohlers get sent away to pasture, you know, like it's anyways.
All right, well, we'll start from the very top. Again, the Digital Archipelago is sponsored by viewers like you. We are not sponsored. We are not paid for. We are not bought out. We are not taking any trips to CPAC in Hungary anytime soon.
Ava Vladerbrook is not holding her hand.
She is not. We are not going to have mid-blondes speak to us about stuff we already know. So anyways, Mr. Randall Shirker says, another week, another call out from the top of Spoil Mountain. Consider this funding for the tariff stimmy we're not getting.
Oh, the tariff stimmy.
The tariff stimmy.
Oh, boy. What
Randall Shirker again for $2. He says, like Le Pen in 2012, Orban was CIA'd.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's the case.
I don't know. I think like, well, Le Pen
as much fun I think the CIA gets out of being considered like the ubiquitous godlike demiurge that they want to be perceived as. Like, I do think a lot of this has a lot more to do with domestic politics in Hungary than it does like American deep state officials kicking him out.
Even like Marie Le Pen made a lot of mistakes. Let's be real. Like, you know,
well,
I
also
think,
it's just
yeah.
like Marie Le Pen knows that like if it gets to like the second or third round election, like it doesn't matter that like I'm a Green Party socialist. I'm going to side with like, you know, fringe conservative factions to keep her out of government.
No, but like, but Randall Sugar was saying that that did come out in WikiLeaks. There was a concerted campaign against Le Pen.
It doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, Randall Shirker again says, but we're ascendant, guys. We need to act like we run things. What a difference 2 years makes. The thing is that you're not going to get a 90s militia movement because Janet Reno effectively destroyed that. And I think that because of the online environment, not to get too meta, but like there's a deep-seated antagonism towards like online in real life engagement. And I mean, like, as someone who does a lot of in real life political engagement, speaking and activism, both locally and with like-minded internet friends, like you really do just like you have to, but like you don't have to do. I mean, like I can't speak my honest thoughts on this issue.
There's not. I mean, the thing is, the first part of that though, like we're ascendant, we run things. It's not.
I think it has a lot to. Again, it has a lot to do with just like how quickly things change.
I think the problem is that there isn't. Again, to my previous rant that I made an hour or so ago, I think the problem is that a lot of people have abandoned a lot of the thinkings that a lot of the political thinking that they were discovering or musing on, even back in the 2010s on the E-right. I think a lot of that has sort of, unfortunately, been abandoned in the sense that, you know, the Washington machine, for example, has been running for a very long time, and individual administrations, especially when it comes to geopolitics, individual administrations are it's very difficult for like one president to change very much when it comes to the sort of nether regions of the imperial project. And so I think a lot of people have had this like strange abandoning of the theory for a weird dance around their own perceived political omnipotence and sagacity. And I think that that's a big problem, is that you were right even a few years ago when you're talking about, obviously these projects are measured out in decades, and obviously someone can come along and disrupt things. But especially when it comes to foreign policy, it's very difficult to change the prerogative from, like, let's say the collapse of the Soviet Union, even before then till now. So, you know, the whole thing about like we're in control finally now. And again, I don't want to criticize too hard, obviously, but I just think that people have to take a step back and realize the stuff that they were saying even a few years ago, as opposed to what they're saying now, should come into consideration when it comes to the actual machinations of how politics works, or how we used to analyze how politics works. So there you go.
Yeah, and again, like the as Gio was saying, like the American civil society, the NGO, deep state, whatever you want to call it, like this is a lovely large leviathan that has not been effectively conquered or destroyed yet, which I think is incredibly frustrating for a lot of people. But like this is where we're at. I'm not.
Look at Big Ben in the chat. Big Ben, listen, okay, are you in control, son? Are you in control? No, I should go with the
I will say this, as I've always said, this is what we're getting is infinitely better than what we could have had with the other. If the shoe had fallen on the other foot, you will never hear me say Kamala Harris would have been better.
I don't think but that's my point though. I think that even like say if Kamala won, I think that would we have a war with Iran? I don't know. I mean, that's what I mean by the monolithic nature of like the Washington.
You would probably get something very similar.
Yeah,
you'd get more airstrikes.
But then, how did Obama deal with the Iranian thing? Because
he negotiated and sort of.
Right.
I mean, you have to understand, like Obama is probably the most anti-Israeli friendly president. Like, and I mean, this is the thing with Trump is like
he was meddling elsewhere.
If your core issue is Israel and Zionism, then Trump is not your guy.
Right.
like unironically, like your foreign policy with regards to the Middle East may be closer to Barack Obama in that instance. Socially, you're probably very far to the right of Barack Obama, but like that's where it is. Also, Barack Obama worked with a lot of people that like the Israelis didn't want him to talk to. Like there is a very openly anti. Like I mean, Barack Obama also worked very hard to like dethrone Benjamin Netanyahu with no real degree of success. Right. So I mean, like there's a lot there that's worth investigating.
But at the same time,
into
Obama
the history
was
of like Obama's foreign policy.
Right, but he was also no, but that's a great point. But he was also like meddling in other regions of the Middle East, like in Syria. Like that was another thing too. Like he maybe did he knew like anything with Iran is probably not a good idea. But like the Syria thing, extending GWAT, like that. But you're right. There wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, like we're going to close Gitmo, but by the way, we're going to also send a troop surge into Afghanistan.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I mean. I think like would Kamala have been better? It's kind of like a. I don't know. Like obviously, I'm not saying Kamala would be better, but like I think when it comes to geopolitics, in particular, there seems to be a pretty uniform consensus. Put it that way. At least in my estimation. I mean, they could have different quabblings and disagreements, or like maybe a certain like one side can begrudgingly go along with it. But anyways, that's I don't know. I think maybe I mean Kamala definitely would have obviously like risked a war with Russia. That's no doubt. But yeah. Anyways, sorry for that.
Yeah, we'll move on. I mean that would take a whole other like 2+ hours to cover. Wingman says book review is 2 months late, so the cat gets double bath. It literally, I'm telling you right now, the video will drop on the 23rd. Your review of Whitewashing America drops on the 23rd. You can hold me to it, or the cat gets it. Randall Shirker again says the For You page and its consequences are truly dire. I mean, this really is the logical consequence of the attention economy.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I love that. I just love that, the For You page.
Yeah, FYP conservatism is such a great fucking phrase. I really do like it. I shouldn't, but I do. I really do like for FYP conservatism. It just flows so neatly off the tongue, and it's so insulting. Denal 132 for $10. Thank you very much, sir. Very generous. He says, "Take your meds, schizo." Well, thank you. I'm actually, I'm going to take my meds right when I get off the air, because actually, I will wait till we're done to take them. Wingman says the whole Metro trilogy is on sale for $8 right now. Actually, that is a game trilogy I can encourage you to buy right now. So go do it. I highly recommend it. I'm if there's, speaking of old games that I'm probably going to buy again because I don't have it on my PC, I'm probably going to buy XCOM Enemy Unknown. I really like the XCOM games. Not just the new Firaxis ones, but I've also played the older ones too. No, I'm not Grim from Red Hood says the quarter pounder. I don't know what's going on. Apparently he had said some very rude things about his female producer that I think is what's getting him in trouble right now.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, again,
among the other
not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm very glad to not be him. The money would be nice, but I'm glad to not be him.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't want to make fun of the guy for his weight, but like, quarter pounder is kind of funny. That I gotta admit, that is kind of funny. Anyways,
it is entertaining.
It would take like at least 3 hours to go through all the lore, but it's not worth it though. It's like, dude, who cares? Another lol countdown.
Many such cases. All right, carrying on here. No, I'm not Grim for $4.99. He says, I've been in the game for 10 years and all I've got out of it was a Vivian James t-shirt that says L. I've been robbed and I'm mad beyond belief. Well, if you go to Good Suffer, Dimes' store, you can get Do You Even Read merch. And also I have updated at the user request of our good friend Hambros Pierce, the Teespring link down below in the description. Get yourself a lovely...
pureobject.org.
Yeah, you've got a lot of options. And you've of course got, giantartproductions.com to buy a painting from Gio. So I need to actually go do that. I need to go buy a painting from Gio.
There you go. I spent 10 years of my life manga.
And all I got was a shirt and all I got was this
lousy t-shirt. Yeah. Holy crap.
Could you imagine doing oh man. I spent 10 years in online politics, and all I got was this ugly mid, and it's just like a picture of
Laura
Richard
Loomer.
Spencer with RFH. Just a thought. Just a thought. I'm thinking a little too
Oh
outside of the
my
box, maybe.
god.
Who knows? Carrying on. Let's see here. Randall Shirker says, from Gamergate to present, those who care about how they look are always willing to betray everything. That's what I take from today's talk. Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's true.
pride cometh before the fall. News at 11.
Yep. That's a pretty solid principle.
Wingman, I'm not putting that one up there.
What do you say?
He says, please review a certain rabbi. He has a video about how the Jews should not fast, but everyone else should. Yes, he's very round. I'm looking him up. I'm not putting this one on the air for obvious reason.
Rabbi Yusuf Mr. Kai is good content sometimes.
So my
He's
friend,
great. The IDF one,
you know Onizuka Groiper. He loves that guy. Is that a real guy? Yeah, he's a little round. He's a little round. Yeah, he's a little round. I'm not doing this. I'm not. He's on Reels, man. He's on Reels. No,
well, Instagram's gone wild recently. Like that's what I mean by, like,
some of those are pretty interesting. It's just like some ask who is the greatest Jew to ever live. It's you, and it's just like this weird commodification of
Miss Lucy sausage
of Judaism is particularly strange. But thank you for the $5, Wingman. I greatly appreciate it. Serbian Cat 777 says, Prude, if you ever end up in Nebraska or Western Iowa, you need to visit the the Strategic Air Command Museum outside of Omaha, one of the best aviation museums in the country. SAC Museum, Nebraska.
SPC Museum?
No, the Strategic Air Command and Aerospace Museum. Oh shit, they got an SR-71 in there. Oh man. Why one of the largest unofficial galaxies? Oh, fan collections of Star Wars shit. Yeah, that's what I really want to go to. Fuck that. Yeah, visitor information. I would like to. Oh, I have a planetarium and things like that. It's pretty cool. Next to the Safari Wildlife Park. It's pretty affordable. I wouldn't mind going. We got OGC brothers in that region. I might go make that a trip. I'm down. If Prude Sky King's just off me at that point, I have, believe it or not, I have a lot to live for. So no, I don't think I'm going to be Sky Kinging anytime soon. Although the thought crosses my mind every time I go to work.
Have the Iranians signed a bomb with the Remember Sky King yet?
That
could happen.
You should check in with your like Ukrainian and Russian buddies. Like, hey, has anyone said for Sky King on a piece of ammunition or wrote that on an FPV drone?
Like a Ukrainian FPV drone that says Sky King, but then you have like a Russian FPV
questions. That'll be fun. I mean, it's terrifyingly sad.
I think like both. I mean, Sky King's pretty universal because I can imagine like either like a Russian or a Ukrainian soldier posting about Sky King. Or
it really could go either way. That is true.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Moving. I need to actually edit that real quick.
I know that's a terrible joke. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make such terrible jokes, but I have too much respect for Sky King. But like I do, but but they're okay. I will say, but here's a serious point out of that stupid joke. There is something to be said about the dominance of the like mostly American online culture industry to where like the Iranians are referencing like American culture war shibboleths on the missiles. There is some, or like the Lego edits, the AI sloppy Lego edits. Like there is something to be said about like even people directly fighting against, this thing that they're still like caught up in the culture war ephemera. It is true. Like the Iranians are not innocent in this regard, put it that way. Like these like wild edits that they're posting. Which I mean, that's very What a strange world we live in. What a
Yeah.
strange world we live in. All right. What are you doing?
I yeah, no, we're fine. It is a little depressing to say the least.
Yeah.
But we'll carry on here then and go to the next super chat, and we'll just move right along. Charlie Mackey for a very generous $25. Thank you very much.
$5.
Good evening. I hope that you are both well. Have you had any time to read Shadow of the Torture, and what are your
I'm
thoughts so
halfway
far?
done.
Same.
Yeah.
I've actually been really enjoying it. I took a break because I needed to focus on my other book review show. But no, I've enjoyed it. I actually have not read any Gene Wolfe, which makes me a terrible right winger in the same way that I'm not a big Warhammer guy. Just because I never got into it when I was younger. I did a lot of tabletop gaming. I did a lot of Star Wars and like Team Yankee and Flames of War, and I probably blew a boatload of money that probably could have gone to like my future on a lot of pieces of plastic and paint. But no, I'm really enjoying it, and so hopefully we'll finish it, and then we can cover Shadow of the Torturer. I want to say, you want to cover it on the 28th?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll cover it in 2 weeks. So yeah, it'll be a good time, Charlie Mackey. I think it'll be great.
Call it the big beautiful Shadow of the Torture.
Big beautiful Shadow of the Torture.
2 weeks for a deal. It's the Shadow of the Torture.
2 weeks for a deal. It's a great time.
We'll put it up there.
Put
it up there with Cruelty Squad. The Cruelty Squad.
Right up there. We're gonna talk about
2 more weeks. It'll be over.
2 more weeks. Shadow of the Torturer. That's what they call me when I killed Soleimani. It's on the sake, folks. The book of the new sun. That's me, the sun. I'm brighter than the sun, you know. I'm a very stable genius.
Soleimani had the greatest line in human history. He had one of the greatest, not the greatest, but one of the greatest about like, well, they could like, they could redact the Ayatollah, they could destroy all of our heroes, but we can't really do it to them because what are we going to do? We're going to like drone SpongeBob or Spider-Man. Like that was such a great line.
Okay, so this has now triggered this weird idea where it's like it's Peter Parker and he's in front of like J. Jonah Jameson. He's just like, Peter, I want you to get me pictures of Spider-Man, and then like the next time it's not going to be like Peter Parker like suddenly goes missing for a while and
kind of like a nuclear scientist.
No. Rival. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Eddie Brock. And it's just like, so like Eddie Brock comes in like the next week, and he's got like FPV drone cam footage of like Spider-Man getting like just murked by a loitering munition. I don't know why that just like came to my head. I hate you, Gio.
Yeah, Spider-Man. He's like dodging with the spider webs. He's dodging the loitering munitions. Oh my god, that's terrible.
Eddie, how the hell did you get these? I don't reveal my sources, Jonah.
It's like someone in the IRGC like leaked the source.
Oh my god, that's so terrible. I blame you.
What's Spider-Man doing in Haifa?
Anyways, Oz the Art Pilgrim says, "Hello, gents. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you, Oz. Christ is risen. My condolences to you, Gio. I'm planning to sell my art in a local art show in May. Any advice in selling Guy Clean lino cuts?" I'm totally mispronouncing that first one.
Yeah, just I like putting them in like that sterile packaging that you could find on Amazon. But I mean, usually traditionally prints are always like, you sell them low and like finish works are higher, but yeah, that's great. I would obviously like stock up if you have like multiples. So I've never like done a local art fair. I should this summer, but yeah, like hopefully it works out, man. I know sometimes it can be disappointing, but I have friends who have like done the local art fair thing, and I definitely want to try my hand into it. But prints can usually sell, like especially if you like have a price where people are not going to like think twice about it, then you know what I mean. Like usually, like those are what prints are for. Like they're always going to be cheaper, but they're like sort of, they're like the not exactly like loss leaders, but just be realistic about it, and hopefully it'll work out. So. Yeah,
and also know where you're going. Like, do people go to this arts festival to make money, or do they go to spend money? or do they go just to look? And also, like, other festivals are totally worth doing besides that if you're going to sell prints and stuff like that.
$5 or $10, maybe, like, depending on what they are, though.
Well, that's what my iconography teacher does. Like, she has small prints of what she has, and then she's got them on these little wood boards. Like, they're small, but like they're basically Christmas ornaments. And
yeah, I give out. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, those sell well.
I give out like I have like a lot of different experimental prints. Like sometimes, like I remember back in the day, I would like go through a whole run of like doing it, because sometimes, like, especially if you're using cheap wood. But what I do is, like, if you buy a print, or even if you buy a painting, then I'm not immune to like just slipping a print in there for you. So there you go. I'm gonna, you know what I mean, just as a nice gift.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. So you can also get a print if you buy something. GiantProductions.com. GiantProductions.com.
See, there you go. Always be closing. Always be closing. No, I'm not. Grim says, I've come to the conclusion that we are basically going to be flipped the bill on a lot and essentially be untouchables for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yes. No. Maybe so. Again, this is why I always encourage, like, if there are ways in which you can improve your career or become independently wealthy, you always should. Always secure the bag. That's just my fundamental perspective on all things. Like, do whatever you need to do to preserve yourself and your family.
There is already, like we were saying, there always like there is outside of America, I'm noticing a chilling effect, but that is also in conglomeration with different politics on the ground, right? Either like in Canada or in Hungary and Australia, or in what's another big European election that's coming up?
France? I don't know. What next big year? I don't know. Let's take a gander here at the electoral calendar. Let's see here. What's
we need
upcoming?
Future Moldovan citizen on the case.
Yeah, I know. Ireland has an election in May. Hungary just had its votes done. Bulgaria is the next election. Spain has its regional parliament in May. You have the national referendum on the No 10 Million Switzerland Sustainability Initiative. That's in June. I guess that's going to be really important to see how that goes.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I know this is a vulgar analogy because it's sports ball, but it's sort of like in hockey or any sport, right? Say you have a huge rebuild, a dramatic rebuild. There's the Toronto Maple Leafs in the core four. Any team has roughly about 10 years or so to win something with a rebuild, because then players age out, fan base changes if there's lack of success. So there tends to be in like electoral politics, like I said, democracy, not exactly whatever, right? But theoretically, there tends to be a time frame of, let's say, 8 to 10 to 15 years for a political faction to achieve a level of dominance before they are perceived as old hat. Now, Viktor Orban had 15 years, right? That's unprecedented, especially in Europe, right? Like in Italy, for example, you're lucky if anything lasts for a few years. So I think the problem is, I think Not Grimm's specifically referring to MAGA here. So the thing is, if you have this window of 10 years, and if you have events that even in its last run can dramatically change things, then the architecture politically, culturally, and socially that you've put in place will determine if, let's say the right in America or in these other nations or whatever, if they have an opportunity to really build a coalition again, right? So that's a very hard question to answer, because it's almost like you can't really answer that till finally, till there is another thing that comes down the pipe. And then you could see what will, So I really can't even make a prediction there, but I will say that, 10 years seems to be the ceiling for a coalition to form in terms of electoral politics and really make something of recalculating, reforming the culture around itself in that particular nation. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I will see. Also, slight update. Johnny Somali got sentenced 6 months, 20 days in a specialized labor prison with no suspended sentence, immediate detention,
Shit.
phone confiscation, and offender status designation. He has 1 week to appeal.
Whoa!
There's nothing oddly satisfying.
Forced labor.
Lord, I have seen what you have done for other nations, and I want the same to happen to me.
Oh my god, that's good. I like all these slopping, like these IRL streamers that go to these other countries and harass these people.
I believe that they should be caned. I mean, hard labor is also good, but like, I think Johnny Somali should be like caned, like Singapore style, and that should be live streamed. And all donations go to like the government.
Whatever happened to those guys that sold drugs in Singapore? Did they get?
I hope they probably got executed.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I remember in the 2000s.
Well, good.
Yeah, they were called
zero
like the
tolerance.
Bali
Really
6.
should just be zero tolerance.
Weren't they called like the Bali 6 or something like that?
I don't know. I'd have to look
this
it
is
up.
a long time ago. Yeah.
Focus says for $20, but Obama didn't have a certain husband like of a certain persuasion.
Yeah, but then,
like Kamala did. Yeah, but I mean,
the Democrats are in a very precarious situation,
and also like a lot of American Jews are particularly not Zionists.
Yeah,
in the sense that, like, if you're on the Democratic Party, you're not going to be as pro-Israel, or you're going to be far more critical of Israel.
But that's what I mean. Like a Democrat, like they're
in a weird position because, like, even Gavin Newsom is like, will call Israel an apartheid state, but then like still support Israel's right to exist. It's in a strange place, to say the least. I'm
sure they're probably going to find some way to buy off their.
Well, this is the thing too. Is like this was kind of one of the coalition fractures that helped, I think, Trump win in 24. And now that like the taxman has come to collect his due, like it's been unfortunate consequences on the geopolitical level.
There is a huge, put it this way, there's a huge incentive for any Democrat in 2028 to just openly come out and say, like, yeah, we don't agree with this. We don't want to be, we recognize that the average Democrat voter is pro-Palestine, and there's a huge political opportunity there. Whether or not they do it or not, that's yet to be seen. But there's
and again, I think that we're gonna because the war in Iran has become solely like the media has transitioned it to now being like this is a Trump war, and not an Israel war.
Right.
That like the whole Israel question can be easily sidestepped, and now it's talking about Iran. And so like
just focusing on Trump, you mean?
By focusing the conflict as a Trump-centered conflict, you're not going to get the same level of we're not going to get the renewed focus on Israel. I think that the left kind of had to pay the consequences for in 24.
Yeah.
But like either which way, you're going to have a lot of similar. I think again, like the foreign policy establishment is not really. It's gonna go places and in directions that we don't like. I think, regardless of the administration.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. There's another one that I literally am not putting on screen because it's.
Let me see this one. Where is it?
Zhang Wei menacing got kicked out of a Hot Topic, asking for them to pierce something. Yeah, that's disgusting, good sir. But dear God,
that's brutal. That's brutal.
That is how, you know what? I will give you the greatest compliment I can give you. That is Howling Mutant-esque.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You got me to chuckle at something so fucking disgusting. You should tweet that if you don't get the chance. No, I'm not. Grim says I still can't believe Medicare called out. It's over.
I could predict it.
I feel like that was something of an inevitability.
You know when I said that nobody can think past 2010's culture war when they talk about serious issues? Remember when I said that? I know, I'm such an asshole. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying about? You know when I said that you can't move on?
My goodness.
Well, listen, you know, the reason, well, I mean, this guy, he's openly said that he wants to impoverish every European. So again, taking up in culture war nonsense with a sober analysis of what a global energy crisis potentially could mean for the world. That's my point, right? Like doing a stupid meme of like Billy Mitchell saying, "Well, I guess we could just like totally impoverish Europe forever. That's a good thing." It's like this is nonsense. This is I know I shouldn't be this vindictive, but Daddy Jim for years hid behind nihilism and cynicism and poking fun at people. And now that he decides, allegedly in his last legs, to find this like supreme clarity, I don't know. The call that he posts is just it's stupid. I even feel bad for even giving it the time of day.
Small home.
Yeah. No, but
big, clean, beautiful cow.
I recall someone was trying to seriously question him, like not in a confrontation way. He's like, "Well, listen, Mr. Medicare, like, this could potentially disrupt energy futures for Europe for a very long time." He's like, "Well, I guess just fuck them. Like, just who cares about that? Fuck them." Like, if that's your attitude about it, then I don't know. It's just very, very stupid, churlish nonsense. That's what I see. And I never was, I did watch Daddy Jim back in the day, but there was a point where it's just, I don't know. I shouldn't say too much, but it's just, it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Like, why do you have to post shit like that? Like, it's just, it's needless. If you're truly on the political right, and you supposedly have these right-wing principles, and you're going to forsake all of Europe for what? Like, even just saying something is stupid is like just, oh, but they're libtards. It's not our fault that they're libtards. Like, it's that again, another 3-hour episode.
Again, another reason why everyone talks past each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Carrying on, we got a couple more to go. Focus replies, "Oh wow, it's very generous. Holy shit,
$50. Thank you, Focus. Oh my god."
He says, "Love the Do You Even Read series. You introduced me to some good books." Well, I hope so. And we've got basically the next 6 months of book reviews planned. We're gonna do Grace and Quay's The Transhumanist Temptation next, and then we have a lot of like one-off book episodes that we're going to do. But no, we've also got a lot of stuff that's been recommended by listeners and other book guys. So, and Gio has made recommendations that has gotten on there. And we're planning something special. We haven't decided what book we're going to cover live, but we're hoping in November to do You Even Read live in Chicago. More details to come.
Maybe Dimes can pick me up and we could have a whole thing.
Bet. I love you. I just don't believe you. I love you, man. But like, we've been trying to do DA live for like 2 years at this point.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting on your desire to like come to America to make it happen.
I come to America. I just was in America.
Well, yeah.
Oh, but you know what you mean.
Yeah. I was just in America. Oh, we know you were in something, Gio, but come on, like.
Anyways. Thank you, Focus 6016. That's a great Thank you. Do you want a book recommendation? Well, I recommend a book on the show, the Red Queen Trap, but I was actually
I literally just ordered it.
Yeah,
I saw the word copium in the reviews, so I'm sold.
I was actually reading I was rereading Baudrillard's book on the transparency of evil. And the 2 essays that come to mind the most are one's called Necrospective, and the other one's called What Happened to Evil. And a lot of people were revisiting this essay because, of course, he mentions Ayatollah Khomeini in this essay. And he was talking about the sort of like post-values monoculture of like the West, not just the Western world, but like this sort of global deculturation that is happening or did happen. And how the Ayatollah is sort of like this apocryphal figure because they have this weight of like moral judgment. This was around the Salman Rushdie fatwa, if you remember this, right? And the weight of moral judgment as opposed to this like, it's funny because I think this is where Byung-Chul Han gets a lot of his stuff. The unyielding positivity to where everything must be positive. We cannot even think about or articulate what quote unquote evil actually is anymore. And so the transparency of evil, the essay, it's called What Happened to Evil. Very, very revealing for what's happening nowadays. But now we have, I think, which is a very, I mean, Baudrillard would find this fascinating. We almost have like a remoralization, but it's around like political and vaguely ethnic categories where it's like you're a brown third worldist versus like whatever idea of civilization this is that's imbued with like MAGA and all this stuff. And so what we have now is like a faction of McWorld is turning towards values, but it's still in a weird way in the service of those type of like the like negative value space that Baudrillard was talking about. Whereas like now it's like it's not so much that the Iranians or like the Russians or the Chinese, it's not that they just represent like an ancient value structure, but they represent this rival value structure. And so I wonder what Baudrillard would make about this discourse. I wonder. It's very, but I would highly recommend the book. It's called The Transparency of Evil. A lot of the essays are great. And Necrospective is another great essay that comes right after it. So it's...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people are reading this again because of his mentioning of the Ayatollah Khomeini. Yeah.
Randall Shirker says the GOP had a generational run. Now it's the gulags. I don't know. Maybe. That's all I'm going to say is maybe.
To be honest with you,
you aren't going to get gulag. Well, I mean, you will because they did it to J6ers. But I mean, like, you are just going to be a
I don't think individual...
It'll be tax cattle farm on a scale that makes life barely, like, hardly livable. I don't... the whole thing that they're going to go after individual posters, I don't think that might not happen. That's probably not going to happen. Like, it's not like the situation in, for example, the way that they're thinking about going after Faiza in Hungary, or like the way they go after dissidents in Britain. But I do think that they don't necessarily even have to like physically jail like every Trump supporter or poster. It's more so that if there is a blow of legitimacy there, they're going to really run with it in the media. A blow to the legitimacy of the past 10 years. And they will probably go after high profile people. I could imagine that. But, excuse me.
You know, yeah. But I just, will it be as apocalyptic as people think? I want to be, what's the phrase? I want to be right that it won't be as apocalyptic as people like Curtis Yarvin say it will be. I hope not. You know what I mean? But there is still that lingering possibility. But we'll see, you know.
Carrying on to, I think this is the last super chat of the evening. No, I'm not grim. He says, I'm with Jay Burden on hoisting the black flags. Like, I think you should just get as much as you can out of your own wealth. Like I said, like, do what you have to do. Make your money and make the run for it. That's really the advice that I'm gonna have to give. Is like, if you can be, it's the old meme. It's just like the American dream is just like making enough money to avoid the consequences of like the civil rights regime. Like, I really do encourage you to do that.
Or even like avoiding the consequences of the stupidity of your own government. I think that's pretty much, you know, there.
And I mean, if you get a chance to be like Travis Kokorin, where like you have money and your hobby also makes you money, and you're a state representative, and you basically are getting away with being a racist on the internet, and you get, you know, like, they can't touch you, then like do it. But like,
yeah,
you have to focus on what you know how to do and what you can do to improve yourself. That's it.
There is, I think, you know, I've often been critical of the libertarian streak within American politics, but I will say that there is something to be said about the yeoman ideal of, even in spite of the consequences of my government, I can still endure. There is something noble about that within the American spirit. Like, And I think a lot of
It's all we got, man.
but then the history of a lot of American politics has been people trying to find a way to, escape whatever political arrangement is not advantageous for them at the moment. That's been like, even the Mormons did that. You know what I mean? Like, that's been a huge story within it's been a huge undercurrent within American history, American political history. I mean, this, Prude. I don't have to lecture.
Yeah. No, yeah. I understand.
You know your American history well.
I try to live it. So, and then, but that is it.
Stop grabbing my penis. You know your judo well.
Oh my god!
Such a great clip. He
right,
died
we'll
recently. He died
next week on Gio's channel.
Yeah.
Anything else you got to promote there, buddy?
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, the Australian guy that got arrested for dining and dashing. Apparently, he died recently.
Yes.
Oh, not Grim. There you go.
Nope. I hate to say it, but I'm really fearful of pogroms
or programs.
Either way, like there's something. Whatever comes next is going to happen either on a state level, and they're going to do more stuff. I think it's still too early to do that, but as I've said, for all political action, you have to be prepared for the absolute worst case scenario, regardless of what actually happens.
Yeah, that's the best.
And you have to be willing to face those consequences if you engage politically. And if you're not willing to deal with the fact that the FBI could do a no-knock raid on your house like they did with a lot of J6 people, then, just be concerned about the ways in which you can engage politically wisely. And if not, then, like, you should be doing everything that you can to make money to avoid the consequences of, like, the oncoming political, regime of the left. That's really all I can suggest.
Yeah.
But I was born here. I will die here. It's that simple for me.
There you go.
We'll be live next week on Gio's channel. We have some essays that we'll be covering then. On the 23rd, I will have my book review out of Whitewashing America that Wingman had sponsored. Between the move and Lent and everything else, like, it's been difficult to get stuff out. After that, we'll be on the 28th on my channel. We'll be covering Shadow of the Torturer, and again, another paid book review. And then after that, I will be very busy from here on out because classes start for me on the 20th. But I think that we'll have time, and I think, Lord willing, this Thursday I'll be on Mr. D's channel covering more Twin Peaks: The Return. Alongside that, I have a few essays that are in the works that I need to get out on Substack. And then, I hope that you've all had a great couple of weeks. It's good to be back on the air with you all. I hope that everyone had a very happy Easter, very joyous Pascha. Enjoy the rest of your bright week. Please support Gio by going to the links down below, as well as going to giantartproductions.com to go buy him a painting. Of course, supporting the show via your donations, as well as long-term support by a monthly donation as low as $2.99 a month on subscribestar.com/theprudentialist, or being a channel member helps immensely. And as always, we will be live next week, this same time on Tuesday. Yep. We'll see you then.
And go to I did a Slop Kings episode on the digital precariat, this new concept I just came up with on the Tukey's Mag channel. And hopefully this week I will have another content-minded episode. I still have to record part 2 on young UFOs and the work of art. So that's been very exciting content. So yeah, we'll see you next week, everybody.
All right, take care.
God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.